The dream started 3 nights after Amelia saved the pack. Not dreams. Summons. Voices calling her name in languages she didn't speak but somehow understood. Faces she'd never seen but recognized in her bones. And always, the overwhelming sensation of being needed, not wanted, not requested, but desperately, achingly needed by wolves who were dying inch by inch in the darkness. Amelia woke gasping, silver light already pouring from her hands before she was fully conscious, illuminating the chamber she shared with Cade in harsh, flickering bursts. Cade was awake instantly, his body coiled and ready for threat, his golden eyes searching the shadows for enemies that weren't there. Again, his voice was rough with sleep and concern. Amelia nodded, pressing her palms against her chest, trying to contain the power that surged every time the dreams released her. Her heart hammered so hard she could feel it in her throat, in her temples, in the very marrow of her bones. How many this time? Cade asked, moving closer, his warmth a grounding presence in the chaos. 7. Her voice shook. I saw 7 faces. 7 voices. All of them calling for help. She didn't tell him the worst part. Didn't tell him that in the dream, she'd felt them dying. Felt their life forces guttering like candles in a storm. Felt the desperate, clawing terror of wolves who'd been alone so long they'd forgotten what hope tasted like. The bond between her and Cade pulsed with his worry, his frustration at not being able to fix this, his bone-deep need to protect her from things he couldn't see or fight. We need to talk to Nearest, Amelia said, pushing herself out of bed. The ancient wolf from the forest. She called me once. Maybe she knows what this means. It's the middle of the night. I know. Amelia was already pulling on clothes, her hands still trembling. But I can't, Cade. I can't keep feeling them die in my sleep. I can't. The rawness in her voice made him move. Within minutes, they were dressed and heading into the pre-dawn darkness, the bond between them thrumming with shared determination. The forest was different at night. Not dangerous exactly, but aware. Like the trees themselves were watching, waiting to see if Amelia was truly what she claimed to be. The moonlight filtered through the canopy in silver streams, and every shadow seemed to pulse with potential either threat or promise, depending on how you looked at it. Cade stayed close, his hand resting on the small of Amelia's back, a constant reminder that she wasn't alone. That whatever she was walking toward, he was walking toward it too. The bond had deepened since the battle with Corvin. Since she'd claimed her power and he'd been freed from the curse. Now it wasn't just a connection, it was a conversation. She could feel his emotions as clearly as her own. Could sense his thoughts brushing against hers like whispers in a language only they spoke. Right now, he was worried. Not about danger. About losing her to whatever destiny kept calling her name. I'm not going anywhere, Amelia said quietly, even though he hadn't spoken aloud. Cade's hand tightened on her back. You can't promise that. Not when you don't know what's being asked of you. I can promise I'll fight to stay. She glanced at him, and the intensity in his golden eyes made her chest ache. I'll fight to come back to you. Always. That's not the same as staying. No. Amelia stopped walking and turned to face him fully. But it's the best I can give you right now. Because whatever this is, whatever the dreams mean, it's connected to what I am. And I can't ignore it. Cade's jaw tightened, and for a moment she thought he might argue. Might try to convince her to let someone else handle it, to stay safe within Shadowmere's borders where he could protect her. But he didn't. Because he understood. Understood that asking her to ignore the call would be like asking her to cut off a limb. It wasn't possible. Not without destroying something fundamental. Then we answer it together, he said finally. Whatever it is. Wherever it leads. Together. The word wrapped around Amelia's heart like a vow. Together, she agreed. They continued walking, and within another quarter-mile, they reached the cave where Nearest, the ancient wolf, the last chronicler, made her home. The entrance was marked with symbols that glowed faint blue in the moonlight. Wards, Amelia realized. Old magic meant to keep out those who weren't invited. But the moment she approached, the symbols pulsed, recognizing her, and the invisible barrier dissolved. "She's been waiting for us," Amelia murmured. "Of course she has," Cade muttered. Ancient wolves always know more than they should. They stepped inside, and the cave opened into a chamber that defied physics. It was vast, far larger than the exterior suggested, with walls covered in carvings that seemed to move in the firelight. And at the center, sitting beside a fire that burned without fuel, was Neris. She looked exactly as she had in Amelia's vision 3 nights ago, ancient, ethereal, with silver-white fur in her wolf form and eyes that held the weight of centuries. Right now, she was in human form, an elderly woman with sharp features and a gaze that cut straight through pretense. "Bearer." Her voice was like wind through winter branches. "You've heard the call." It wasn't a question. "I've been dreaming," Amelia said, moving closer to the fire. Voices. Faces. Wolves I don't know begging for help. Not begging. Neris's expression didn't change. Answering. Amelia's stomach tightened. "Answering what?" "Your awakening." Neris gestured for them to sit. "When you claimed your power 3 nights ago, when you burned away Corvin's corruption and healed the Alpha King's curse, you sent out a signal. Moonfire that bright doesn't go unnoticed. Every wolf with even a drop of ancient magic in their veins felt it. And those who've been waiting, hiding, surviving in exile, they recognized it for what it was. A beacon," Cade said quietly. "A summons." Neris's eyes fixed on Amelia. "You called them without knowing it. And now they're calling back. Asking if you're real. Asking if it's finally safe to come home." Amelia's breath caught. "How many?" 7. Neris stirred the fire with a stick, and images appeared in the flames, faces, places, wolves scattered across territories. 7 lost wolves. Each exiled for carrying power the old packs feared. Each barely surviving. Each waiting for a bearer to tell them they're not monsters. The weight of it pressed down on Amelia's chest like a stone. 7 wolves. 7 lives hanging in the balance. 7 souls she was suddenly responsible for. "What happens if I don't answer?" The question came out barely above a whisper. "They fade." Neris's voice was matter-of-fact, but there was grief underneath. Without hope, without purpose, they'll lose themselves to the wild. Become the monsters the packs always feared they were. Or they'll simply stop fighting and let the darkness take them. "That's not a choice," Amelia said, anger flaring. "That's extortion. That's destiny." Neris's gaze didn't waver. "You're a bearer, child. Your purpose isn't to live a quiet life. It's to gather the scattered, heal the broken, and hold the balance. These 7 wolves are the first test." "Test for what?" Cade's voice had gone cold, protective. Neris was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "For what comes after." The words hung in the air like a blade waiting to fall. "There's something you're not telling us," Amelia said. "Something about why these wolves were scattered. Why they have power. Why it matters that I find them." Neris smiled, but it wasn't comforting. "You're learning." She stood, moving to one of the carved walls. Her fingers traced symbols that began to glow as she touched them. "The wolves you're hearing aren't just exiles. They're anchors. Each one carries a fragment of the old magic, the magic that existed before packs, before territories, before wolves forgot they were meant to be one people." Images appeared on the wall, 7 wolves, each surrounded by different colored light. Silver for dreams. Gold for healing. Blue for sight. Green for strength. Red for speed. Purple for spirit walking. White for truth. 7 aspects of wolf magic, Neris continued. Scattered when the first packs fractured 1,000 years ago. Hidden in bloodlines. Sleeping. Waiting for a bearer to awaken them and bring them together. Amelia stared at the images, her mind racing. "You're saying these wolves are, what?" "Pieces of something larger. I'm saying they're the key to repairing what was broken." Neris turned to face her. "And you're the only one who can turn that key." "But why now?" Cade demanded. "Why after 1,000 years? Why Amelia?" Neris's expression turned grim. "Because the veil is failing. Silence crashed down like a physical weight. What veil? Amelia asked, even though part of her already knew. Could feel it in the dreams. In the desperate quality of the voices calling her name. The barrier between this world and the shadow realm. Neris's voice dropped. The place where dark spirits and corrupted magic dwell. For 1,000 years, the remnants of the last bearer's power have held it closed. But her magic is fading. And when it fails completely, darkness bleeds through. Amelia finished, her voice hollow. Not bleeds. Neris's eyes were hard as stone. Floods. Every nightmare, every corrupted spirit, every twisted thing that's been locked away for a millennium will pour into this world. And the wolf packs, fractured, scattered, fighting among themselves, won't stand a chance. Kate's hand found Amelia's, gripping tight. How long do we have? He asked. Months. Neris's gaze shifted to the fire, where the flames had turned an ominous shade of purple. Maybe less. The Shadow King grows stronger with every day the veil weakens. And when he breaks through. Shadow King. Amelia's blood ran cold. Who is that? Neris looked at her, and for the first time, Amelia saw something like pity in the ancient wolf's eyes. The mate of the first bearer. The male who loved her so deeply that when she sacrificed herself to create the veil, he went mad with grief. He's been clawing at the barrier for 1,000 years, trying to tear it down, trying to reach her. And he doesn't care that doing so will destroy everything. The fire crackled, and in the flames, Amelia saw a shadow, massive, dark, hungry, waiting. So I find the 7 wolves, Amelia said slowly, forcing her voice steady. I awaken their magic. And then what? How do I repair a veil I don't even understand? You bring them to the Moonwell. Neris's voice turned reverent. The place where bearers were first created. Where the first bearer made her sacrifice. It's the only place with enough concentrated moonfire to repair the veil. And if the Shadow King gets to us first? Kate's voice was hard. Then the veil falls. The world ends. And everything the first bearer sacrificed for is lost. Neris's expression softened slightly. But that's why she has you, Alpha King. The bond between bearer and king isn't just love. It's protection. You're her anchor. Her shield. And when the time comes, you'll be the only thing standing between her and the darkness. Cade's jaw tightened, but he nodded. Amelia felt the weight of destiny settling onto her shoulders like chains made of starlight and responsibility. 7 wolves to find. A veil to repair. A Shadow King to face. And somewhere in all of it, she had to figure out how to stay herself. How to hold on to the love she'd just found. How to save the world without losing her soul. When do we start? She asked. Neris smiled, approval and sadness tangled together. You already have. She gestured to the cave entrance, where dawn was just beginning to break. The first lost wolf is 3 days' journey north. In the Black Pine territory. She's been alone for 15 years. And she's dying. Amelia stood, and Cade rose with her, their hands still intertwined. Then we leave now, Amelia said. You'll need more than just the 2 of you. Neris pulled something from the shadows, a leather satchel. Take this. Inside are maps to each of the 7. And tokens that will help you prove you're not a threat. Amelia took the satchel, and the moment it touched her skin, she felt warmth. Like the bag itself was alive. Waiting. One more thing. Neris's voice stopped them at the entrance. The 7 wolves you're seeking? They won't all want to be found. Some have embraced their exile. Some have forgotten they were ever part of something larger. And at least one. She paused, her expression troubled. At least one has already been touched by the Shadow King. Corrupted. You'll have to save her from herself before you can save anyone else. Dread coiled in Amelia's stomach. Which one? You'll know when you find her. Neris's eyes glowed faint silver in the dim light. Trust your instincts, bearer. And remember, you're not saving them because they deserve it. You're saving them because you do. Because you know what it's like to be called a monster when you're just trying to survive. The words hit Amelia square in the chest. Because Neris was right. She did know. And that's exactly why she couldn't walk away. They returned to the fortress as the sun broke over the mountains, painting everything in shades of gold and crimson. Cade called an emergency council meeting. The elders gathered in the Great Hall, the same place where Amelia had been put on trial just days ago. But this time, she wasn't a prisoner. She was their Luna, their queen. And when she spoke, they listened. "I've been called," Amelia said simply, standing before them with Cade at her side. "There are 7 wolves scattered across the territories. Exiles. Lost ones. Each carrying ancient magic. And I need to find them." Murmurs rippled through the gathered wolves. "Why?" one of the elders asked, a female named Mira with sharp eyes and a sharper mind. "Because a veil is failing." Amelia didn't sugarcoat it, didn't soften the truth. "A barrier between our world and a realm of darkness. And if it falls completely, everything we know ends. The only way to repair it is to gather these 7 wolves and bring them to the Moo Well." "The Moo Well is legend," another elder protested. "No one's seen it in 1,000 years. "Then we'll be the first," Cade said, his voice brooking no argument. "Because the alternative is watching our world be consumed by shadow. And I won't let that happen." The authority in his tone made several wolves drop their eyes. But Mira didn't back down. "And what if these lost wolves are dangerous?" she challenged. "What if they were exiled for good reason? What if bringing them back puts our pack at risk?" "Then I'll take that risk." Amelia's voice was steady. "Because I was exiled too. Called dangerous. Broken. And if someone hadn't given me a chance, if Cade hadn't seen past the fear to who I really was, I'd still be running. Or dead." She stepped forward, and silver light began to glow softly beneath her skin. "These wolves are me," she continued. "They're every person who's been cast out for being different. Every soul told they're too dangerous to love. And I won't abandon them the way I was abandoned. I won't let them fade into darkness when I have the power to bring them home." The hall went silent. Then, slowly, Mira nodded. "How many wolves do you need?" Cade had already thought about this. 5, he said, "including Amelia and myself. Small enough to move quickly. Large enough to handle threats." "I volunteer." The voice came from the back of the hall. A young male stepped forward, lean, dark-haired, with eyes that burned with determination. Stellan, one of Cade's most trusted warriors. "And I, a female this time. Astrid, a healer with a gift for protective magic. And I, another male. Riker, silent, deadly, loyal to his bones." Within minutes, they had their team. Cade, Amelia, Stellan, Astrid, and Riker. 5 wolves against whatever the world threw at them. "We leave at sunset," Cade announced. "Pack light, move fast, and trust each other." The meeting dissolved, and Amelia found herself standing in the now empty hall, the weight of what they were about to do pressing down on her. Cade's arms wrapped around her from behind, pulling her against his chest. Having second thoughts, he murmured against her hair. "100 thoughts," Amelia admitted. "But that doesn't mean I'm not going." "I know." He turned her in his arms, his golden eyes searching hers. "You're the bravest person I've ever met." "I'm terrified." "That's why you're brave." He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips, gentle and reverent. "Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's moving forward despite it." Amelia leaned into him, breathing in his scent, memorizing the feeling of safety in his arms. Because she had a terrible suspicion that safety was about to become a luxury they couldn't afford. The bond between them pulsed with shared determination. And underneath it, buried deep but undeniable, was the fear they both carried. That answering this call might cost them everything. But they'd answer it anyway. Together. Because that's what it meant to be fated. Not that the universe made everything easy, but that when it got hard, you had someone worth fighting for. And Amelia would fight. For the 7 lost wolves. For the world. For the future she and Cade were trying to build. She'd fight until her last breath. And pray it was enough. When destiny calls, you can answer or run. But running only delays the inevitable. And Amelia? She's done running. Now comes the hard part, finding wolves who don't want to be found. Saving those who've forgotten they're worth saving. And holding on to love when the darkness is closing in. The journey has begun. And there's no turning back. Before we continue, please subscribe, share your thoughts, and let us know where you are watching from. They traveled north for 3 days through territory that grew progressively wilder. The forests here were old, ancient, the kind of place where civilization had tried to plant roots and failed, leaving behind only crumbling stone markers and the ghosts of abandoned settlements. The trees grew so thick the sunlight barely penetrated, and the air tasted like moss and secrets. Amelia felt the pull growing stronger with every mile. Not a physical sensation, exactly, but a knowing. Like a compass inside her chest pointing toward something she couldn't see, but desperately needed to find. The first lost wolf was close. So close she could almost taste her pain on the wind. Their group moved in practiced formation, Cade at the front, his alpha senses scanning for threats. Stellan and Riker flanking the sides, silent and watchful. Astrid near the back with Amelia, ready to deploy protective magic at the first sign of danger. They'd barely spoken since leaving Shadowmere. Not because there was nothing to say, but because words felt inadequate for what they were walking into. Each member of the team understood they weren't just searching for a lost wolf. They were stepping into the space between legend and nightmare, and none of them knew which side would claim them. On the third night, as they made camp in a clearing beside a stream that ran black under the moonlight, Amelia felt it. A presence. Watching. Waiting. Judging. She stood slowly, her hand instinctively moving to where silver light hummed beneath her skin, ready to be called. Cade was on his feet instantly, his body positioned between her and the darkness. "She's here," Amelia whispered. "Where?" Stellan's hand went to the blade at his hip. "Everywhere." Amelia turned in a slow circle, and yes, there. In the shadows between trees. Moving. Circling. A wolf that didn't quite move like a wolf should. "She's been watching us since we entered the forest." "Is she hostile?" Astrid's voice was calm, but her fingers were already tracing protective symbols in the air. "She's terrified," Amelia said quietly. Because she could feel it now, the crushing weight of fear radiating from the presence in the shadows. Fear so old and deep it had calcified into armor. Into survival instinct that screamed, "Trust no one. Need no one. Survive alone or die." Amelia knew that fear. Had lived it. She took a step toward the darkness. "Don't," Cade warned. "I have to." Amelia's eyes never left the shadows. "She won't come to us. We have to go to her. We don't know what she's capable of." "I know what I'm capable of." Amelia turned to look at him, and the moonfire already beginning to glow in her eyes made him go still. "And I know what it's like to be so afraid of yourself that you'd rather die alone than risk hurting someone. So I'm going to her. Alone." "The hell you are," Cade growled. "Cade." Amelia's hand touched his chest, right over his heart. "You have to let me do this. She's been exiled for 15 years. The last thing she needs is an alpha king and a war party descending on her. She needs to see that I'm not a threat. You're not going alone." His voice was absolute. "Then stay back." Amelia's expression softened. "Please. Trust me." The bond between them pulsed with his reluctance, his fear, his desperate need to protect her from everything. But underneath it was something stronger. Trust. 10 minutes, he said finally. "You have 10 minutes. Then I'm coming after you whether she likes it or not." Amelia kissed him, quick and fierce, then turned and walked into the darkness. The forest swallowed her whole. 1 step, 2, 3, and suddenly she couldn't see the campfire behind her anymore. Couldn't hear her companions. Just the rustle of leaves and the whisper of wind and the overwhelming sensation of being observed. "My name is Amelia." She spoke to the darkness, her voice steady. "I'm a bearer. And I know you can hear me." Silence. Then, "Bearer." The word came from everywhere and nowhere, a whisper that seemed to originate from the trees themselves. "Bearers are dead. Extinct. Myth." "I thought so too," Amelia said. until I became one. A low, bitter laugh echoed through the shadows. You smell like Puck. Like safety. Like everything I'm not. I smell like someone who was sold by her family 3 weeks ago because they were terrified of what I'd become. Amelia kept walking, following the presence as it moved. I smell like a girl who spent her whole life being told she was broken. Dangerous. Better off dead. Silence. Then the presence stopped moving. Why are you here? Because I heard you calling. Amelia's voice dropped. In my dreams. Your voice. Your pain. You've been alone for so long you've forgotten what hope feels like. And I came to remind you. I didn't call anyone. The voice was closer now, more solid. Female. Rough with disuse and grief. Yes, you did. Amelia stopped in a small clearing where moonlight managed to break through the canopy. Maybe not consciously. But when I awakened my power, when I claimed what I was, every wolf with ancient magic felt it. Including you. And part of you, the part that's still fighting to survive, reached out. Movement in the shadows. A figure stepped into the moonlight and Amelia's breath caught. She was wolf, but wrong. Her fur was patchy, matted with dirt and dried blood. Her ribs showed through her sides. Her eyes, one amber, one white, stared at Amelia with a mixture of hunger and desperation that was painful to witness. This wasn't just exile. This was destruction. Slow, deliberate. The kind that happened when survival became the only thing you had left, and even that wasn't enough anymore. My name is Sable, the wolf said, her voice coming out distorted, like she'd forgotten how to form human words. And you should leave. Before I forget why I shouldn't kill you. You won't kill me, Amelia said quietly. You don't know that. I do. Amelia took a step closer, and silver light began to glow softly from her skin. Because if you wanted me dead, you would have attacked while I slept. You've been following us for 3 days. You've had dozens of opportunities, but you didn't take them. Sable's lips pulled back from her teeth. Maybe I'm just waiting for the right moment. Maybe you're just lonely. The words came out gentle, honest. Maybe you've been alone so long you've convinced yourself you prefer it. But the moment you felt my power awaken, something inside you hoped. And that terrifies you more than anything. The wolf went absolutely still. Then, slowly, she began to shift. It was wrong. Painful. Her bones cracked and reformed with sounds that made Amelia's stomach turn. Her fur receded in patches, leaving raw skin beneath. And when she finally stood in human form, Amelia understood why she'd stayed wolf for so long. Her body was covered in scars. Not battle scars. Binding scars. Carved symbols that glowed faint sickly green, pulsing with dark magic that made Amelia's moonfire recoil. They did this to you, Amelia whispered, horror flooding through her. To keep me contained. Sable's voice was flat, emotionless. I was 12 when my power manifested. Dreamwalking. I could slip into other wolves' minds while they slept. See their secrets. Their fears. Their darkest thoughts. She laughed, bitter and broken. The pack called it invasion. Violation. They said I was dangerous. That I'd corrupt the young. Turn wolves against each other. Her scarred hands clenched into fists. So they bound me. Carved these symbols into every inch of my skin. And when that wasn't enough, when I still managed to dreamwalk despite the bindings, they exiled me. How old were you? Amelia's voice shook. 15. Sable's white eye fixed on her. I've been out here alone for 15 years. No pack. No family. Just me and the voices of wolves I can't reach anymore. Amelia's chest ached with recognition. Because she understood. Understood the loneliness. The shame. The slow erosion of self that happened when you were told over and over that your existence was a threat. The bindings are killing you, Amelia said, seeing it now. The way the dark magic pulsed in rhythm with Sable's heartbeat, draining her life force with every breath. I know. Sable's expression was eerily calm. I have maybe a month left. Maybe less. The bindings are designed to contain power, but power doesn't just disappear. It turns inward. Eats you alive from the inside out. Then let me help you. You can't. Sable shook her head. These bindings are old magic. Blood magic. Only the one who placed them can remove them. They're dead, aren't they? Amelia asked quietly. The ones who did this to you. Most of them. Something dark flickered in Sable's expression. The ones who aren't wish they were. Amelia didn't ask what that meant. Instead, she stepped closer and raised her hands, letting the moonfire flow. I'm not them, she said. I'm not here to bind you or hurt you or tell you you're wrong for existing. I'm here to set you free. You don't have that kind of power. Yes, I do. Amelia's eyes glowed pure silver. Because I'm a bearer. And moonfire doesn't just heal. It transforms. It burns away corruption and leaves only truth. She placed her hands on Sable's shoulders, right over two of the largest binding scars. Sable flinched, her body going rigid. Don't. But it was too late. The moonfire poured from Amelia's hands into Sable's body, and the reaction was immediate. The binding scars began to glow, fighting against the light. Dark magic surged, trying to repel the moonfire, trying to protect itself. But moonfire didn't negotiate. It just burned. Sable screamed not in pain, but in release, as the bindings began to crack, to shatter, to fall away like chains that had finally rusted through. And underneath, power. Raw, ancient, beautiful. Amelia felt it the moment the last binding broke. Felt Sable's true magic flood back into her, no longer twisted and contained but free. Dreamwalking magic that smelled like starlight and tasted like midnight. Magic that was never meant to be a weapon. It was meant to be a bridge. A way for wolves to understand each other. To share dreams. To heal trauma by walking through nightmares together. It was gift, not curse. Sable collapsed and Amelia caught her, lowering them both to the ground. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then Sable began to cry. Not quiet tears. Sobs. 15 years of grief and pain and loneliness pouring out all at once. And Amelia held her. Held this stranger who wasn't a stranger at all. This wolf who was a mirror. A reflection of everything Amelia had been before Cade found her. You're free, Amelia whispered. You're free and you're not alone anymore. Why? Sable's voice was broken. Why would you help me? You don't even know me. Because someone helped me. Amelia pulled back enough to meet Sable's eyes, both amber now, the white one healed when the bindings broke. And because you deserve to be more than what they made you. You deserve to choose who you become. Sable stared at her, and something shifted in her expression. Hope. Fragile and tentative, but real. What happens now? She asked. Now you come with us. Amelia helped her stand. There are 6 more wolves like you. Like us. Scattered across the territories. And we're going to find them. Bring them home. And use our combined power to repair something that's been broken for 1,000 years. Repair what? The veil. Amelia's expression turned grave. The barrier between our world and the shadow realm. It's failing. And if it falls, everything ends, Sable finished, her dreamwalker senses already picking up the truth of it. I've seen it. In the nightmares that aren't mine. Darkness bleeding through. Wolves turning on each other. The world consuming itself. Then you understand why we need you. Sable was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. I'll come. But not because I believe we can save the world. Her expression was still guarded, still wary. I'll come because for the first time in 15 years, someone looked at me and saw a person instead of a threat. And maybe that's worth fighting for. It is, Amelia said firmly. You are. They returned to camp together, and the moment Cade saw them, relief flooded the bond so intensely Amelia felt tears spring to her eyes. He'd been terrified, barely holding himself back from charging into the darkness after her. But he'd trusted her, and that meant everything. This is Sable, Amelia said as they entered the firelight. The first lost wolf. She's coming with us. The team took in Sable's appearance, emaciated, scarred, wild, and to their credit, none of them recoiled. Astrid stepped forward immediately. You're hurt. Let me. I'm fine. Sable's voice was defensive, automatic. You're half-starved and probably haven't had a proper meal in months, Astrid said gently. Let me help. Please. Sable looked at Amelia, who nodded encouragingly. Slowly, Sable allowed Astrid to lead her to the fire, where food and water waited. Cade pulled Amelia aside, his hands framing her face. Are you okay? His eyes searched hers. I'm fine. Better than fine. Amelia leaned into his touch. Cade, she's a dreamwalker. Do you understand what that means? It means she can walk in others' dreams. It means she can connect wolves on a level most can't even imagine. Amelia's voice rose with excitement. When this is over, when we repair the veil, she could help heal pack rifts. Help wolves understand each other. She's not a weapon. She's exactly what the packs need. Cade's expression softened. You see yourself in her. I see what I could have become. Amelia's voice dropped. If you hadn't found me, if someone hadn't seen past the fear to who I really was, then I'm glad we found her. Cade pulled her against him, his arms wrapping around her waist. And I'm proud of you. For saving her. For being brave enough to walk into the darkness alone. I wasn't alone. Amelia's hand pressed against his chest, feeling his heartbeat. I had you. Right here. The bond pulsed with warmth, with love, with the unshakable certainty that they were exactly where they were meant to be. Cade kissed her slow and deep and full of promises about later, about always, about the future they were fighting to protect. And watching from across the fire, Sable saw it. Saw the way the Alpha King looked at the bearer like she was his entire world. Saw the way Amelia leaned into him like he was her safe harbor. And for the first time in 15 years, Sable let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, there were still good things in the world worth surviving for. Later that night, after the others had fallen asleep, Sable approached Amelia where she sat on watch. Can I ask you something? Sable's voice was quiet, hesitant. Of course. Why me? Sable sat down beside her. Why start with me? There are 6 others. Some probably in worse shape. Why come all this way for a broken dreamwalker? Amelia was quiet for a moment, considering. Because you were the loudest, she said finally. In the dreams. In the calling. Your voice was the one I heard most clearly. And I think it's because you were the closest to giving up. Sable's throat worked. I am. Some days I wake up, and I don't know why I'm still fighting. Then fight for this. Amelia met her eyes. Fight because you're not broken. You're just unfinished. And we need you. Not your power. You. The woman who survived 15 years alone and still managed to hold onto enough humanity to not attack us on sight. I thought about it, Sable admitted. But you didn't. Amelia smiled. That's what matters. Sable nodded slowly. Then her expression turned troubled. There's something you should know, she said. About the other lost wolves. About why we were really scattered. Amelia's stomach tightened. What do you mean? I've been dreamwalking since I was 12, Sable said. Before the bindings made it impossible. And I used to see them. The other lost ones. We'd find each other in the dream realm. Share stories. Comfort each other. Used to. 3 months ago, one of them went silent. Sable's voice dropped. Completely. Like she'd been erased from the dream realm entirely. And just before she disappeared, I caught a glimpse of what happened to her. What did you see? Shadow. Sable's hands trembled. Pure darkness wrapping around her. Whispering. Promising her power. Freedom. Everything she'd been denied. And she listened. She let it in. Amelia's blood ran cold. The Shadow King. You know about him? Sable looked surprised. An ancient wolf told us. The mate of the first bearer. He's been trying to tear down the veil for 1,000 years. Then you know he's looking for you. Sable's voice was urgent. Looking for the bearer. And he's using us, the lost wolves, as bait. He knew you'd come searching for us. Knew you'd try to save us. Which one? Amelia demanded. Which lost wolf did he corrupt? Sable shook her head. I don't know. The connection broke before I could identify her. But she's out there, waiting. And when you find her, she'll try to kill me, Amelia finished. Or worse. Sable's expression was haunted. She'll try to turn you. The Shadow King doesn't just want to destroy the bearer. He wants to corrupt her. Turn her power against the veil. Use her moonfire to tear down what the first bearer built. Amelia felt the weight of it settle onto her shoulders. Somewhere among the 6 remaining lost wolves was a traitor. A weapon aimed directly at her heart. And she had no way of knowing which one until it was too late. Why are you telling me this? Amelia asked quietly. You could have stayed silent. Let me walk into the trap. Because you freed me. Sable's eyes held hers. And because I'm tired of being used. By my old pack. By the Shadow King. By anyone. So I'm choosing you. Choosing to fight on your side. And I'll use every ounce of my dream-walking power to help you identify the corrupted wolf before she destroys us all. Amelia reached out and took Sable's hand. Thank you. Sable squeezed back, and in that moment, a bond formed. Not mate bond. Not pack bond. Something new. Sister bond. Forged in shared pain and the desperate choice to hope anyway. And watching from the shadows where Amelia couldn't see, Cade listened to every word. His jaw tight. His hands clenched. Because now he knew. Saving Amelia wasn't just about protecting her from external threats. It was about protecting her from the wolves she was trying to save. One of whom was already lost to darkness. And would do anything to drag Amelia down with her. Trust is a fragile thing. Built slowly, shattered instantly. And Amelia just found her first lost wolf, only to discover that one of the others is already hunting her. The question isn't if the trap will spring. It's when. And whether she'll see it coming before it's too late. Hold on. The darkness is closing in. And the real test is just beginning. They were 2 days south of the Black Pine territory, tracking the second lost wolf, when the attack came. Not from enemies. From the sky. The storm rolled in fast, too fast to be natural. One moment, clear skies. The next, churning black clouds that blotted out the sun and turned midday into twilight. Lightning cracked in jagged white lines, striking so close Amelia could smell ozone and burning wood. Take cover. Cade shouted, already shifting, his massive black wolf form providing shelter for Amelia. The team scattered, diving for the protection of a rock outcropping as rain began to pour down in sheets. But this wasn't just rain. Amelia felt it the moment the first drops touched her skin. Magic. Old magic. The kind that tasted like blood and intention. Someone had sent the storm. It's a summoning storm, Astrid said, her voice barely audible over the thunder. She was already tracing protective symbols in the air, trying to shield them from whatever was coming. Someone's using weather magic to force a meeting. Who? Stellan demanded, his blade drawn, his eyes scanning the tempest. Amelia already knew. She felt it through a connection she hadn't accessed in weeks, the bond of blood and shared history that existed between sisters. Ceres, she breathed. And as if saying the name conjured them, 3 figures materialized through the rain. Wolves in human form, soaked and breathless, their eyes wild with urgency. Ceres. Amaya. Eloan. Amelia's sisters. Cade shifted back to human form, immediately positioning himself between Amelia and the newcomers, his body coiled and ready for violence. You have 10 seconds to explain why you just attacked my mate, he growled, alpha power making his voice reverberate like thunder. We didn't attack. Ceres stepped forward, hands raised in a gesture of peace. But her eyes, those sharp, commanding eyes that had always reminded Amelia she was born to lead, were fixed on Amelia. We summoned. There's a difference. Not from where I'm standing, Cade snarled. Cade. Amelia's hand touched his arm, and he went still, though the tension in his body didn't ease. Let me talk to them. They sold you. I know what they did. Amelia's voice was quiet but firm. And I also know they wouldn't risk coming into your territory unless something was desperately wrong. She stepped around Cade and faced her sisters for the first time since the night they'd handed her over to Shadowmere warriors. The night her life had ended and begun simultaneously. Saris looked exactly as Amelia remembered, tall, golden-haired, beautiful in that effortless way that made people gravitate toward her. But there were new lines around her eyes, shadows underneath. And her hands, always so steady, trembled slightly as they hung at her sides. Amaya stood to her right, warrior strong, her amber eyes sharp and assessing. But the confidence that usually radiated from her was dimmed, replaced by something that looked almost like guilt. And Aloan. Sweet, gentle Aloan with her healing magic and soft voice looked like she'd been crying for days. Amelia. Saris's voice cracked on the name. Thank the moon goddess you're alive. When we heard about the trial, about Corvin's attack, we thought. You thought I'd be dead. Amelia's voice was flat. Or exiled. Or erased. Because that's what happens to dangerous wolves, right? They get eliminated. Saris flinched like she'd been struck. We never wanted you dead, Amaya said, her voice rough. We wanted you safe. Safe. Amelia laughed, and the sound was bitter. You sold me to an enemy pack. Handed me over to an alpha king you thought was a monster. How exactly was that supposed to keep me safe? Because we knew, Aloan whispered, and tears were already streaming down her face. We knew he was your fated mate. Knew the bond would protect you. Knew he'd never let you come to harm once he recognized what you were to him. The confession hit Amelia like a physical blow. You knew. Her voice rose. You knew I was fated to Cade and you let me think I was being abandoned. Betrayed. You let me believe you hated me. We had to. Saris stepped forward, desperate now. Amelia, you have to understand. The prophecy said your power would consume our bloodline if you stayed. The seer was specific. She said the only way to save you, to save all of us, was to get you to the one who carries death in his palm before your power fully awakened. The Alpha King's curse, Amelia said numbly. We researched everything, Amaya added. Spent weeks tracking down old texts, questioning traveling wolves, trying to figure out who the prophecy meant. And every answer pointed to Shadowmere. To Cade Theron. To the curse that's been killing Alpha Kings for generations. So you made a deal. Cade's voice was ice. Sold your sister to save yourselves. To save her. Saris's composure cracked. We knew if she stayed, if her power awakened while she was still in Stonebrick, the prophecy would come true. She'd destroy us. And then she'd have to live with that guilt for the rest of her life. I couldn't let that happen. So you chose for her. Amelia's hands clenched into fists, silver light beginning to seep from her skin. You took away my choice. Let me think I was worthless. Unwanted. A burden you were relieved to be rid of. We thought you'd hate us less if you believed we didn't care, Aloan sobbed. We thought it would be easier for you to move on if you thought we'd betrayed you instead of breaking our own hearts to save yours, Saris finished, her voice barely above a whisper. Silence fell, broken only by the sound of rain and Aloan's quiet crying. Amelia stood frozen, torn between rage and understanding, between the desire to scream at them and the terrible, aching need to forgive. Because she understood. Understood the impossible choice they'd faced. Understood that sometimes love looked like letting go, even when it destroyed you. But understanding didn't make the pain less real. Why are you here? She asked finally, her voice carefully controlled. Why risk coming to Shadowmere? Why now? The three sisters exchanged glances, and Saris pulled something from beneath her cloak. A book. Old. Leather-bound. Stained with what looked like dried blood. We found this, Saris said, holding it out. Hidden in Mother's belongings after she died 3 days ago. The world tilted. What? Amelia's voice came out strangled. She got sick 2 weeks ago, Amaya said quietly. Some kind of wasting illness. The healers couldn't identify it. Couldn't stop it. She just faded. And on her deathbed, she told us where to find this. Saris opened the book, and Amelia saw pages covered in her mother's careful handwriting. It's a journal, Saris continued. About bearers. About the prophecies. About, her voice broke. About you, Amelia. She knew what you were from the moment you were born. Amelia's legs felt weak. That's impossible. Read it. Saris held the book out. Please. With trembling hands, Amelia took the journal. The first entry was dated 23 years ago, the day Amelia was born. The child came during a blood moon, just as the prophecy foretold. Silver eyes, silver hair that darkened within hours, and a mark on her shoulder blade, faint, almost invisible, but unmistakable to those who know what to look for. The bearer's mark. I knew what she was the moment I held her. Knew what her existence would mean. For our pack. For the wolf nations. For the balance between worlds. And I knew what I had to do. Amelia's hands shook as she turned the page. A woman came to me 3 days after the birth. Old. Ancient. With eyes that had seen the rise and fall of kingdoms. She called herself Nereus, the last chronicler. She told me the veil was failing. That the Shadow King was growing stronger. That my daughter was born to repair what the first bearer had created 1,000 years ago. But she also told me the price. Bearers don't live quiet lives. They burn bright and fast, consumed by the very power meant to save the world. They're hunted, corrupted, destroyed by those who fear what they represent. My daughter is 3 days old, and I'm being asked to prepare her for a destiny that will likely kill her. The words blurred as tears filled Amelia's eyes. I asked Nereus if there was another way. If my daughter could live a normal life. She said no, but she offered me a choice. Bind the child's power. Hide what she is. Give her years of peace before the calling comes. It won't stop destiny, but it might give her time to become strong enough to survive it. The price, I have to lie to her. Make her believe she's broken. Defective. Because if she knows what she is too early, if she tries to access her power before she's ready, it will consume her. It's the cruelest kindness I've ever been offered. But I accept. Because I'd rather have her alive and hating herself for 20 years than dead and whole at 5. Amelia's breath came in ragged gasps. Her mother had known. Had chosen to make Amelia feel broken to keep her alive. Had carried that secret for 23 years. Over the years, I watch her struggle. Watch her try to shift and fail. Watch her believe she's worthless while I hold the truth locked in my chest like a blade. It destroys me. But I don't tell her. Because Nereus warned me, if Amelia knows what she is before her power awakens naturally, the shock could kill her. Or worse, could activate the power before she's strong enough to control it. So I lie. I let her think she's the shadow daughter. I let her suffer. And I pray the moon goddess will forgive me. The final entry was dated 2 weeks ago. The sickness has me now. The price of the binding magic I used on Amelia all those years ago. Blood magic always demands payment. I've felt it coming for months. But I don't regret it. Because she's alive. She's found her mate. And according to Nereus, who visited me in my dreams last night, she's finally awakening. My beautiful, powerful, heartbreaking daughter is becoming what she was always meant to be. I won't live to see it. But Saris will. Amaya will. Eloan will. And I've left them this journal so they understand. So they know that every cruel decision, every binding, every moment of Amelia's pain was a choice I made to give her a fighting chance. I hope she can forgive me. I hope she knows I loved her. More than life. More than magic. More than the world I'm leaving behind. Tell her. Please. Tell her she was never broken. She was just waiting. The journal fell from Amelia's hands. She couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Couldn't process the weight of what she'd just read. Her mother hadn't failed her. Hadn't been ashamed of her. Hadn't thought she was a mistake. Her mother had sacrificed herself, slowly, deliberately, over 23 years, to give Amelia a chance to survive long enough to become what she was meant to be. And Amelia had never known. Had spent her whole life believing she was unloved. Unwanted. Wrong. Amelia. Eloan's voice was soft, broken. She loved you. So much. We all did. We didn't know how to show it without putting you in danger. She died because of the binding magic, Sarah said, tears streaming down her face. The spell she used to suppress your power, it required a life debt. She's been paying it off in pieces for 23 years. And when your power finally awakened, when the binding broke, the debt came due all at once. She knew it would kill her, Amaya added. Nereus warned her. But she did it anyway, because you were her daughter. And she'd rather die than watch you be destroyed. Amelia couldn't hold it in anymore. The sob tore out of her, raw and devastating, and her knees hit the ground. 23 years of pain. 23 years of believing she wasn't enough. And all of it, had been a lie told out of love. Cade was there instantly, his arms wrapping around her, pulling her against his chest. I've got you, he murmured. I've got you. But it was Saris who knelt in front of her. Saris who took her hands. Saris who looked at her with 15 years of guilt and grief and desperate love shining in her eyes. I'm sorry, Saris whispered. I'm so sorry we made you feel unloved. Unwanted. We thought we were protecting you. Thought if you believed we didn't care, it would hurt less when we sent you away. We were wrong, Amaya said, kneeling beside Saris. So wrong. And we've been dying inside ever since. Please, Aloan sobbed, joining her sisters. Please forgive us. Not now. Not today. But someday. Please. Amelia looked at them, these three women who'd shaped her entire life. Who'd broken her heart to save it. Who'd carried the weight of terrible secrets because they loved her too much to do anything else. And she realized something. Forgiveness wasn't about forgetting. It wasn't about pretending the pain didn't exist. It was about choosing to move forward anyway. About recognizing that people could hurt you and love you simultaneously. About understanding that sometimes the cruelest acts came from the gentlest hearts. I'm not ready to forgive you, Amelia said finally, her voice hoarse. Not yet. The pain is too fresh. The betrayal too deep. Her sisters' faces crumpled. But I want to be, she continued. Someday. When I've had time to grieve what I lost. Time to understand what you were trying to give me. I want to forgive you. That's more than we deserve, Saris whispered. Maybe. Amelia's hand tightened around Cade's. But it's what I can offer right now. And maybe that's enough. The three sisters nodded, and something shifted in the air between them. Not healing. Not yet. But the possibility of healing. The first fragile step toward rebuilding what had been shattered. And that was something. There's more, Sarah said, standing slowly. In the journal. A warning we don't understand. She flipped to the final pages where Amelia's mother's handwriting had become shaky, desperate. When the bearer awakens, the Shadow King will rise to claim her. He's been waiting for 1,000 years. Waiting for another bearer to appear. Waiting for his chance to finish what he started. The first bearer sealed the veil with her sacrifice. Merged herself with the Moonwell to create a barrier the Shadow King couldn't cross. But he didn't accept it. Didn't move on. He's been clawing at the veil for a millennium, driven mad by grief and obsession. And when the new bearer appears, when her power awakens fully, he'll do anything to corrupt her. To turn her moonfire into shadow. To use her to tear down the veil and reach the woman he lost. The bearer must be protected. Not just from external threats, but from the Shadow King's whispers. He'll come for her in dreams. In moments of weakness. In the space between sleep and waking. And he'll offer her everything she's ever wanted. Power without pain. Love without loss. A world where she doesn't have to sacrifice anything. It will all be lies. But they'll be beautiful lies. And if she believes them, if she accepts his offer, everything ends. Amelia's blood ran cold. He's already coming, she whispered. Sable told me. One of the lost wolves has already been corrupted. And she's waiting for me to find her. Then we fight together, Amaya said immediately. We help you find the lost wolves. Protect you from whatever the Shadow King sends. You can't. Amelia shook her head. This isn't your fight. You're our sister, Sarah said firmly. That makes it our fight. We failed you once, Aloan added. We won't fail you again. Amelia looked at them, really looked at them, and saw the determination in their eyes. The desperate need to make amends. To prove their love was real. And she realized she had a choice. Push them away. Or let them help carry the weight. Okay, she said finally. You can come. But you follow my lead. This is my journey. My purpose. And I won't let anyone, not even you, take it from me. We wouldn't dream of it, Sarah said, and for the first time in weeks, she smiled. A real smile. One that reached her eyes. And Amelia felt something in her chest begin to thaw. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But the first fragile shoots of hope that forgiveness might be possible. That family could be rebuilt. That love could survive even the cruelest betrayals. Cade's hand tightened around hers, and through the bond, she felt his pride. His love. His absolute certainty that she was strong enough to carry this weight. And maybe, just maybe, she was starting to believe it too. The thing about family? It's complicated. Messy. Built on love and mistakes and the desperate hope that forgiveness is possible even when it seems impossible. Amelia's sisters broke her heart to save her life. Her mother died to give her a chance. And now she has to decide, can she rebuild what was shattered? Or will the weight of the past crush the possibility of the future? The Shadow King is waiting. The lost wolves are calling. And destiny doesn't pause for healing. It just demands you keep moving. Even when your heart is still bleeding. They traveled together now, an unlikely alliance bound by blood and desperation. Amelia and Cade. Sable. Stellan, Astrid, and Riker. And now Saris, Amaya, and Aloan. 10 wolves moving through territory that grew stranger with every mile. The landscape itself seemed to react to Amelia's presence. Trees bent toward her as she passed. Rivers ran clearer. Even the wildlife watched with eyes that held too much intelligence, too much awareness. The world recognized what she was. And it was either welcoming her or preparing to defend itself. Amelia couldn't tell which. They'd been traveling for 2 days since her sisters arrived, heading back toward Neris's cave. The ancient wolf had sent word through Sable's dreams, a summons that couldn't be ignored. Bring the bearer. Bring her sisters. There are truths that must be spoken before the next lost wolf is found. Sable had woken from that dream shaking, her eyes wide with something that looked like terror. She showed me things Sable had whispered to Amelia. About what bearers really are. About the veil. About what's waiting on the other side. What did you see? Darkness. Sable's voice had been hollow. Endless, hungry darkness. And something in it that knows your name. Now, as they approached the cave entrance, Amelia felt that same darkness pressing against the edges of her awareness. Like something on the other side of reality was watching. Waiting. Hungering. Neris stood at the cave mouth, her ancient eyes tracking each member of their group. Bearer. Alpha King. Lost Wolf. Blood Sisters. Her gaze lingered on Saris, Amaya, and Aloan. The daughters who sacrificed love for duty. Welcome. You knew, Saris said, her voice tight. You knew what our mother was doing. What the binding would cost her. I did. Neris's expression was unreadable. And I would make the same choice again. Helena's sacrifice bought Amelia 23 years of life. 23 years to grow strong enough to survive what's coming. She's dead because of you, Amaya snarled. She's dead because she loved. Neris's voice turned sharp. Because she chose her daughter over her own life. That's not tragedy. That's the purest form of devotion. And you dishonor her memory by reducing it to blame. Amaya flinched, but she didn't back down. Cade stepped forward, his presence radiating controlled power. You summoned us. Why? Because it's time for the bearer to understand what she really is. Neris turned and walked into the cave. And what will be required of her? They followed. The cave interior had changed since Amelia's last visit. The walls were no longer covered in static carvings. They moved, images shifting and reforming like living things. And at the center of the main chamber, where the fire had burned before, now stood a pool of water so dark it looked like liquid night. The sight pool, Neris said, gesturing to it. A window between worlds. It shows what is, what was, and what might be if the wrong choices are made. She turned to Amelia. Look into it, bearer, and see the truth of what you carry. Amelia's stomach tightened, but she stepped forward. Cade moved with her, his hand finding hers, the bond between them pulsing with shared apprehension. Together, they looked into the pool, and the world shifted. At first, Amelia saw nothing but darkness. Then images began to form. She saw the world as it was 1,000 years ago, wolf packs scattered across territories, each one isolated, suspicious, fractured. They fought over land, over resources, over old grudges that no one could remember the origin of. And beneath it all, literally beneath the physical world, Amelia saw something else. A realm of shadow. Dark. Writhing. Alive with malevolent intelligence. Spirits that had been corrupted by hatred and grief. Wolves who died consumed by rage and refused to move on. Magic that had turned rotten, twisted into something that fed on pain instead of healing it. The Shadow Realm. And separating it from the living world was a barrier so thin Amelia could barely perceive it. The veil. It looked like gossamer, delicate, shimmering, barely substantial. But woven through it was silver light. Moonfire. The same power that flowed through Amelia's veins. And holding it all together, merged into the fabric of the veil itself, was a figure. A woman. The first bearer. Amelia watched as the vision shifted, showing the moment of sacrifice. The first bearer standing before the moonwell, a sacred pool that blazed with concentrated moonfire. Her mate beside her, a massive wolf with eyes like molten gold, begging her not to do this. Begging her to find another way. But there was no other way. The Shadow Realm was bleeding through, corrupting the living world, turning wolves against each other. The balance was breaking, and only a bearer had the power to repair it. So she stepped into the moonwell, and she burned. Her body dissolved into pure moonfire, spreading outward, weaving itself into the fabric of reality, creating a barrier between worlds that was strong enough to hold back the darkness. But the price. The price was everything. Her life. Her future. Her chance at the happiness she'd only just found with her mate. Gone. All of it. Sacrificed to save a world that would forget her within a generation. And her mate. God, her mate. Amelia watched as he stood at the edge of the moonwell, howling, his grief so profound it shattered the ground beneath his feet. He tried to follow her. Tried to step into the moonfire and join her in death. But the veil rejected him, because he wasn't a bearer. His power couldn't merge with hers. He could only stand and watch as the woman he loved became something he could never touch, never hold, never reach again. And that grief, that impossible, devastating grief, it corrupted him. Slowly. Over years. Over decades. Over centuries. His love turned to obsession. His sorrow turned to rage. And eventually, he became something else entirely. The Shadow King. A being of pure grief and madness who'd spent 1,000 years clawing at the veil, trying to tear it down, trying to reach the woman who'd left him behind. Not because he wanted to destroy the world, but because he couldn't accept that she was gone. The vision shifted again. Amelia saw the present. Saw the veil as it was now threadbare, weakening, barely holding. The first bearer's power had sustained it for a millennium, but that power was fading. And on the other side, the Shadow King waited. Stronger now. Fed by 1,000 years of grief and rage. Ready to tear down everything the moment the veil failed completely. And he knew a new bearer had awakened. Could feel Amelia's power like a beacon calling to him across the barrier between worlds. The vision showed her what he wanted. Not to kill her. To claim her. To corrupt her moonfire the way his own power had been corrupted. To turn her into a weapon that could tear down the veil from the inside. To use her to reach the first bearer and finally end the separation that had driven him mad. It didn't matter that doing so would destroy the world. Didn't matter that millions would die. All that mattered was reaching her. and he would sacrifice anything, everything to make it happen. The vision faded and Amelia stumbled backward, gasping. Cade caught her, his arms wrapping around her waist, keeping her upright. What did you see? His voice was rough with concern. Everything. Amelia's voice shook. I saw what the first bearer did, what she sacrificed, and what her mate became because of it. She looked at Nereus, and the ancient wolf's expression was grave. The Shadow King isn't evil, Amelia said quietly. He's broken, destroyed by grief, and he's trying to fix it the only way he knows how. By tearing down the veil and condemning the living world to darkness, Nereus said. Grief doesn't excuse destruction, bearer, no matter how profound the loss. I know. Amelia's hands clenched into fists. But it makes him understand, Abel. And that's worse. Because I can't just hate him. I have to pity him. Pity won't save you when he comes for you, Nereus warned. And he will come. The moment you gather all 7 lost wolves and attempt to repair the veil, he'll make his move. Then we'll be ready, Cade said, his voice hard. Will you? Nereus's eyes fixed on him. Because the vision showed you too, Alpha King. Showed you what happens when a bearer's mate loses her. What grief can turn a wolf into. Cade's entire body went rigid. I'm not him. You love her the way he loved the first bearer. Nereus's voice was relentless. Completely. Absolutely. With a devotion that would burn the world to keep her safe. So tell me, if you lost her, if she sacrificed herself the way the first bearer did, what would you become? Silence crashed down like a physical weight. Because they all knew the answer. Cade would become exactly what the Shadow King was. A grief-mad wolf willing to destroy everything to reach the woman he lost. That's why the bond exists, Nereus continued, her voice softening slightly. The mate bond between bearer and Alpha King isn't romance. It's not chance. It's design. The moon goddess created it specifically so the bearer would have an anchor. Someone strong enough to hold her tethered to the living world when she channels the moonfire. Someone whose love could keep her from being consumed by the power. She looked at Amelia. The first bearer failed because she tried to repair the veil alone. She had no anchor, no bond strong enough to hold her to life when she merged with the moonfire. So she was lost completely. But I have Cade, Amelia said slowly. Yes, Nereus nodded. The curse that's been killing Alpha Kings for generations? It's not a curse at all. It's a call. The moon goddess created it to ensure every Alpha King would search desperately for his fated mate. Would find the bearer when she awakened. Would be bonded to her before she had to face her destiny. Cade's breath caught. The curse was meant to save her. The curse was meant to save both of you. Nereus's expression was almost gentle. Because the bearer can't repair the veil without her anchor. And the Alpha King can't survive the curse without his bearer. You need each other. Completely. Absolutely. The bond between Amelia and Cade flared, and suddenly she understood. Every moment of his 10-year search. Every year the curse ate away at him. Every desperate hope that he'd find her before it was too late. It had all been leading to this. To her. To them. To the moment when 2 broken people would become strong enough together to save the world. So, what do? Amelia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. You gather the 7 lost wolves, Nereus said. Each one carries a fragment of the old magic. Together, their combined power will amplify your moonfire enough to repair the veil properly. Permanently. And the Shadow King? Will try to stop you. Nereus's voice turned grim. He's already corrupted one of the 7. Turned her into a weapon aimed at your heart. And when you attempt the repair ritual at the Moonwell, he'll break through the weakened veil and come for you himself. Then we fight him, Amaya said fiercely. You can't fight grief, Nereus said quietly. You can only heal it. Or be consumed by it. She looked at Amelia, and something in her ancient eyes looked almost like pity. The Shadow King will offer you a choice, bearer. When the moment comes. When you stand at the Moonwell with all 7 wolves gathered. When the veil is at its weakest and the moonfire is at its strongest. What choice? Amelia's stomach tightened. He'll offer to release the first bearer. Nereus's voice was barely audible. If you take her place in the veil, if you sacrifice yourself the way she did and merge with the moonfire permanently, he'll let the veil stand. He'll stop fighting. He'll finally have what he's been searching for all these centuries. No. Cade's voice was absolute. Absolutely not. He'll make it sound reasonable, Nereus continued. Logical. The only way to ensure the veil never fails again. The only way to save the world. And he'll show you visions of what happens if you refuse, the darkness consuming everything, everyone you love dying, the world ending because you were too selfish to make the sacrifice. It's manipulation, Sarah said sharply. Emotional blackmail. It's the truth wrapped in lies, Nereus corrected. Because the world will end if the veil fails. The darkness will consume everything. But sacrificing yourself isn't the only way to repair it. It's just the easiest way. The path of least resistance. What's the other way? Amelia demanded. Nereus was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, you heal him. The words hung in the air like an impossible dream. You're insane, Riker muttered. The Shadow King has been consumed by grief for 1,000 years, Nereus said. He's lost himself to it. Become a monster because he couldn't accept loss. But underneath the corruption, underneath the madness, he's still just a wolf who loved too deeply and lost too much. And you think Amelia can just, what? Talk him down? Stellan's voice was incredulous. I think she can show him another way. Nereus's eyes held Amelia's. You carry Moonfire Bearer. Healing magic. The power to mend what's broken. If anyone can reach past the Shadow King's madness to the wolf he used to be, if anyone can help him grieve properly instead of destroying the world, it's you. That's insane, Cade repeated. You're asking her to walk up to the most dangerous being in existence and offer him therapy? I'm asking her to offer him compassion. Nereus's voice turned sharp. Because the alternative is watching him tear down the veil, letting darkness consume the world, and then having to kill him. Which will break the first bearer's heart, wherever she is, whatever she's become, and corrupt the moonfire you're trying to use to repair the veil. She looked around at all of them. There's no easy answer here. No simple solution. The bearer must choose, sacrifice herself and save the world but lose everything. Or risk everything to heal a monster and pray it's enough. Amelia felt the weight of it settle onto her shoulders. Heavier than anything she'd carried before. When, she asked quietly, when do I have to decide? At the Muel. Nereus's expression was grave. When all 7 wolves are gathered and the ritual begins. That's when the veil will be at its weakest. That's when the Shadow King will break through. And that's when you'll have to choose what kind of bearer you want to be. One who saves the world through sacrifice, Amelia said slowly. Or one who saves it through healing. Yes. The cave fell silent. And Amelia felt Cade's hand tighten around hers, the bond between them blazing with emotions too complex to separate. Fear. Love. Determination. And underneath it all, the unshakable certainty that whatever choice she made, he would stand beside her. Even if it killed them both. They left the cave as dawn broke, and no one spoke for the first hour of travel. What was there to say? The truth had been laid bare. The stakes had been defined. And the impossible choice loomed ahead like a cliff they were all walking toward. It was Aloan who finally broke the silence. Mother knew. Her voice was soft, barely audible over the sound of their footsteps. That's why she bound your power, Amelia. She knew what you'd have to face. What you'd have to choose. And she wanted to give you as many years of peace as possible before the weight fell on you. Peaceful. Amelia laughed, but there was no humor in it. I spent 23 years believing I was broken. That doesn't sound peaceful. Broken is better than dead, Sarah said quietly. If your power had awakened when you were 7, when you accidentally killed those 3 wolves, you wouldn't have survived it. The moonfire would have consumed you before you understood what it was. So instead, I got to feel worthless for 2 decades. Amelia's voice turned sharp. Forgive me if I don't see that as the better option. Amelia, Amaya started. No. Amelia stopped walking and turned to face her sisters. I understand why you did it. Why Mother did it. But understanding doesn't make the pain disappear. doesn't erase the years I spent hating myself. We know, Sarah said, and there were tears in her eyes. And we'd give anything to take it back, to find a different way. But we can't. All we can do is be here now, help you carry the weight, and pray that's enough. Amelia looked at them, really looked at them, and saw the guilt etched into every line of their faces. They'd been carrying this burden too. Not her power, but the knowledge of what they'd done to protect her. The weight of choices made out of love that had caused so much pain. I don't forgive you yet, Amelia said finally. But I don't hate you either. And maybe that's progress. It's more than we deserve, Aloan whispered. Probably. Amelia's lips twitched in something that might have been a smile. But you're here, fighting beside me. And that counts for something. She started walking again, and her sisters fell into step beside her. Not forgiven. But not alone either. And that was something. Cade moved close, his hand finding the small of her back. How are you really? He asked quietly, his voice pitched for her ears alone. Terrified. Amelia's voice shook. I just found out I have to choose between sacrificing myself or trying to heal a 1,000-year-old grief monster. How do you think I'm doing? Remarkably well, considering. Despite everything, Amelia felt herself smile. I have a good anchor. The best, Cade agreed, and the warmth in his voice made her chest ache. They walked in silence for a moment. Then Cade said, I won't let you sacrifice yourself. Cade, I mean it. His voice turned hard. Whatever choice you have to make at the Moonwell, sacrificing yourself isn't an option. We'll find another way. What if there isn't one? Amelia stopped and turned to face him. What if healing the Shadow King doesn't work? What if the only way to save the world is, then the world ends? Cade's hands framed her face, his golden eyes burning with intensity. Because I won't survive losing you, Amelia. And I won't become what he became. I won't spend eternity clawing at a veil trying to reach you. I'd rather die with you than live without you. That's not fair. It's the truth. He pressed his forehead against hers. You're my mate. My anchor. My everything. And I'm not letting you go. Not to destiny. Not to prophecy. Not to some grief-mad Shadow King. You're mine, and I'm keeping you. The possessiveness in his voice should have bothered her. Should have made her bristle. But instead, it made her feel safe. Cherished. Worth fighting for. What if I want to make that choice? She asked quietly. What if I decide my life is worth the world's survival? Then I'll tie you up and carry you away from the Moonwell before you can do it. Cade's voice was absolutely serious. I'll lock you in the deepest dungeon in Shadowmere. I'll bind you with every protective spell Astrid knows. I'll do whatever it takes to keep you alive. Even if it means the world ends? Even then. His eyes held hers. Because you're not just the bearer to me. You're not just a means to repair the veil. You're the woman I love. The only person who's ever made me feel like I'm enough. And I won't sacrifice that. Not for anything. Amelia's breath caught. Because she understood. Understood that what he was offering wasn't just protection. It was choice. The choice to be selfish. To choose love over duty. To save herself instead of saving the world. And God, part of her wanted that. Wanted to run away with Cade and let someone else fix the broken veil. Let someone else face the Shadow King. Let someone else carry the weight of the world on their shoulders. But she couldn't. Because she was a bearer. And bearers didn't get to be selfish. I love you, she said instead of arguing. And I promise I'll try to find another way. Try to heal him instead of sacrificing myself. But if it comes down to it, it won't. Cade's voice was absolute. Because we'll gather the 7 wolves. We'll amplify your power. And we'll find a way to repair the veil without losing you. Together. Together, Amelia agreed. And prayed to the moon goddess that he was right. They found her 3 days later, in a territory so remote even the maps nearest provided barely acknowledged its existence. The Ashen Wastes. A stretch of land where nothing grew, where the ground was perpetually covered in gray dust that tasted like old death, where the sky hung low and colorless. This was where exiles came to disappear. And at the center of the wasteland, sitting on a throne made of bones, animal and otherwise, was the second lost wolf. Her name was Vivian, and she was magnificent. Not in the way Saris was magnificent, all golden beauty and natural authority. Vivian's magnificence was dangerous, built on sharp edges and barely controlled violence. Her hair was long and black, whipping around her face in a wind that didn't touch anyone else. Her eyes glowed red, not amber, red, and her body was covered in tattoos that moved like living things. Speed magic. That was her gift. The ability to move so fast she could outrun time itself. And she'd been alone in the Ashen Wastes for 12 years. Bearer. Her voice was like silk over razor blades. I've been expecting you. Amelia's group fanned out in defensive positions, but Amelia stepped forward. You heard my call. I felt your power awaken. Vivian stood, and the movement was wrong, too fluid, too fast, like she existed slightly out of sync with reality. Felt the moonfire blaze across the territories and thought, finally, someone strong enough to break the chains. What chains? Amelia asked carefully. Vivian laughed, and the sound was bitter. The chains of exile. Of being called too dangerous to exist. Of having power the weak feared and the strong wanted to control. She moved closer, and suddenly she was there, inches from Amelia, before anyone could react. You know what that's like, don't you, bearer? Being told you're a threat. Being bound and broken and convinced you're better off dead. I do, Amelia said quietly. Then you understand why I'm not coming with you. Vivian's red eyes burned. You're gathering us. The lost ones. Planning to use our power for something. And I'm done being used. I'm not trying to use you. Aren't you? Vivian tilted her head. The ancient wolf sent you. Told you to find the seven. Told you were necessary to repair the veil. But did she tell you the cost? Amelia's stomach dropped. What cost? The reason bearers need the 7 lost wolves isn't just for power amplification. Vivian's smile was sharp. It's because repairing the veil requires a sacrifice. Not death. Something worse. What are you talking about? Cade demanded, moving closer to Amelia. The bearer has to sever all personal bonds to become a pure conduit for Moonfire. Vivian's voice turned almost gleeful. Every connection. Every relationship. Every tie to the living world. She has to cut them all and become untethered. Only then can she channel enough power to repair the veil. Horror flooded through Amelia. That's not nearest, said the mate bond would anchor me. That Cade would keep me tethered. To life, yes. Vivian's expression turned almost pitying. But not to him. Not to your sisters. Not to anyone. The moment you begin the ritual, every bond you formed will be severed. You'll survive. You'll repair the veil. But you'll be alone. Truly, completely alone. For the rest of your existence. You're lying, Sarah snarled. Am I? Vivian turned to her. Ask the ancient wolf. Ask her what happened to the first bearer after she merged with the Moonfire. Ask her if the first bearer can still feel. Still love. Still connect to anyone. Silence. Because they all knew the answer. The first bearer had become part of the veil. Part of the barrier between worlds. She wasn't dead, but she wasn't alive either. She was something else. Something untethered from everything that made existence bearable. No. Cade's voice was hollow. There has to be another way. There is. Vivian's smile widened. Don't repair the veil. Let it fall. Let the darkness come. At least then, you get to die together instead of living apart for eternity. That's not a choice, Amelia said, her voice shaking. That's extinction. That's freedom. Vivian's eyes blazed. Freedom from duty. From destiny. From the weight of a world that doesn't deserve saving. You don't mean that, Astrid said quietly. Don't I? Vivian's expression twisted. I've spent 12 years alone in this wasteland. 12 years with nothing but my speed and my rage. And you know what I learned? That the world doesn't care about us. The lost ones. The exiles. We're just tools to be used when convenient and discarded when we're not. That's not true, Amelia started. Then prove it. Vivian's voice turned sharp. Tell me you're not planning to use our power to repair the veil and then abandon us again. Tell me that once the world is saved, we won't be right back here. Alone. Forgotten. Convenient, lost. Amelia opened her mouth to argue. But she couldn't. Because she didn't know what would happen after the veil was repaired. Didn't know if the 7 lost wolves would be welcomed back into pack society or exiled again. Didn't know if saving the world would change anything. And Vivian saw it on her face. Exactly. Vivian's smile turned sad. You're just like them. Using us. Making promises you can't keep. Asking us to sacrifice everything for a world that threw us away. I'm not like them, Amelia said fiercely. I am you. I'm one of the lost ones too. And I'm not asking you to sacrifice anything I'm not willing to sacrifice myself. Are you? Vivian moved closer, impossibly fast. Because from where I'm standing, you have everything. A mate. A pack. Sisters who love you. And you're asking me, asking all of us, to help you keep those things while we get nothing. The accusation hit like a physical blow. Because there was truth in it. Amelia did have everything Vivian didn't. And she was asking Vivian to help her protect it. What do you want? Amelia asked quietly. What would it take for you to come with us? Vivian was silent for a long moment. Then she said, proof. Of what? That you're willing to sacrifice as much as you're asking us to. Vivian's eyes held hers. The ancient wolf told you that repairing the veil requires severing all bonds. Becoming untethered. So prove you're willing to do it. Sever one bond right now. Show me you're serious. No. Cade's voice was absolute. Absolutely not. Then I stay here. Vivian shrugged. And you try to repair the veil with only 6 lost wolves. Which won't work. The ritual requires all 7. So you fail. The world ends. And at least I die on my own terms. You can't ask her to do that, Amaya snarled. I'm not asking. Vivian's smile was cold. I'm demanding. Because I'm tired of being the only one who sacrifices. I'm tired of being the one who loses everything while everyone else gets to keep their precious connections. She turned back to Amelia. Sever one bond. Right now. Prove you're willing to do what's necessary. And I'll come with you. Amelia's mind raced. She had 4 primary bonds. The mate bond with Cade, unbreakable, essential, the thing keeping her sane. The blood bonds with her 3 sisters, newly repaired, fragile, desperately important. Severing any of them would be devastating. Would leave a wound that might never heal. But if she didn't, if she couldn't prove she was willing to make the sacrifice, Vivian wouldn't come. And without all 7 lost wolves, the ritual would fail. Don't. Cade's hand gripped her shoulder. Don't even consider it. We'll find another way. There is no other way, Amelia whispered. Then we let the veil fall. His voice was desperate. We take everyone we love and we run. We find somewhere safe. There is nowhere safe if the veil falls. Amelia turned to look at him, and the devastation in his eyes nearly broke her. You know that. The darkness will consume everything. Everyone. There's no running from this. Then we fight. Cade's jaw tightened. We gather an army. You can't fight grief, Amelia repeated Neris's words. You can only heal it or be consumed by it. She pulled away from him and turned back to Vivian. If I do this, Amelia said slowly, if I sever a bond right now, you swear you'll come with us? You'll help repair the veil. I swear it. Vivian's expression was unreadable. Amelia, please, Aloan sobbed. Don't do this. But Amelia had already made her choice. Because if she couldn't prove she was willing to sacrifice for the world, she had no right to ask anyone else to. She closed her eyes and reached for the bonds. Felt them all, bright threads connecting her to the people she loved. The golden mate bond with Cade, blazing and essential. The silver blood bonds with Saris, Amaya, and Aloan, newly repaired but growing stronger. She couldn't sever the mate bond. That would kill them both. But the blood bonds could be broken without death. Just devastating, soul-deep pain. Amelia chose the weakest one. The bond with Saris. The sister who'd sold her. Who'd broken her heart to save her life? Who she hadn't fully forgiven yet. It was the bond that would hurt least to sever. Or so she told herself. She reached for it with her power and pulled. The bond resisted at first, clinging to life. Then it began to fray, to tear, to break. Sarah screamed. The sound was pure agony, and Amelia felt it echo in her own chest as the bond severed completely. One moment, she could feel Sarah's presence, her love, her guilt, her desperate hope for forgiveness. The next, nothing. Just empty space where her oldest sister used to be. Amelia staggered, and Cade caught her, his arms wrapping around her as sobs tore from her throat. "I'm sorry," she gasped. "Saris, I'm so sorry." But Saris couldn't hear her. Because without the bond, they were just strangers who happened to share blood. Amaya and Aloan were holding Saris as she collapsed, her body shaking with sobs. And Vivian. Vivian stood watching with an expression that might have been satisfaction or might have been regret. "You did it," she said quietly. "You actually did it." "I proved I'm willing to sacrifice," Amelia said, her voice hollow. "Now keep your word. Come with us." Vivian was silent for a long moment. Then she nodded. "I'll come." She moved toward them, and Amelia felt her speed magic, wild and barely controlled, settle into proximity with her own moonfire. 2 of 7. 5 more to find. And a price already paid that Amelia would never get back. Cade held her as she shook, and through the mate bond, she felt his rage, his grief, his desperate, helpless fury at what she'd just been forced to do. "I'll kill her," he whispered against Amelia's hair. "For making you do that." No. Amelia's voice was firm despite her tears. "She's lost. Broken. Just like the rest of us. And I chose to do it. I could have said no. Could have walked away. But I didn't. Because this is bigger than me. Bigger than us." "Nothing is bigger than us," Cade said fiercely. "The world is." Amelia pulled back to look at him. "And I have to save it. Even if it costs me everything." "It won't." Cade's hands framed her face. "Because we're going to find another way. I don't care what Vivian said. I don't care what the cost is supposed to be. We're going to repair the veil without severing your bonds. All of them. I swear it." Amelia wanted to believe him. Wanted to have hope. But the empty space where Saris used to be was a wound that wouldn't stop bleeding. And she knew that this was just the beginning. That more sacrifices would be required. That the price of saving the world might be losing herself completely. And she didn't know if she was strong enough to pay it. That night, they made camp in silence. No one spoke. No one ate. They just sat around the fire, processing what had happened. Saris sat apart from the group, her face blank, her eyes empty. Without the bond, she couldn't feel Amelia anymore. Couldn't sense her emotions. Couldn't connect to her on any level beyond the physical. They were strangers now. And it was destroying her. Amaya sat beside Saris, her hand on her sister's shoulder, but her eyes, those fierce warrior eyes, were fixed on Vivian with undisguised hatred. "You didn't have to make her do that," Amaya said, her voice cold. "You could have just come with us. Could have trusted that we'd protect you. But you wanted to punish her. Wanted her to feel as alone as you feel." "Yes." Vivian didn't deny it. "I did." "Why?" Aloan's voice was soft, broken. "What did she ever do to you?" "Nothing." Vivian's expression was haunted. "She did nothing. But the world did. The Pax did. And I wanted anyone, to understand what it's like to lose connection. To be untethered. To be alone. So you made my sister suffer for your pain," Amaya snarled. "I made her prove she was serious." Vivian's voice turned sharp. "Because I've been lied to before. Promised safety and given exile. Promised acceptance and given chains. I needed to know she was different. Thus she'd actually follow through. By breaking her heart?" Aloan's voice rose. "By forcing her to sever a bond that was barely healed? By showing her what the veil will cost." Vivian's eyes were hard. Because if she can't handle losing one bond, she'll never survive losing them all. The words landed like stones. Because they were true. If Amelia couldn't bear this, she'd never survive the ritual. Cade stood abruptly and stalked over to Vivian. "You're right," he said quietly, and his voice was more dangerous for its calm. "Amelia needs to understand the cost. But so do you. Because if she breaks, if this destroys her, I will hold you personally responsible. And there is nowhere in this world or the next where you'll be able to run fast enough to escape me." Vivian met his eyes and didn't flinch. "Fair enough, Alpha King. But understand this, I'm not your enemy. I'm just tired of being the world's sacrifice. And if the bearer wants my help, she has to prove she's willing to sacrifice as much as she's asking from us." "She already proved it," Cade said coldly. "Now the question is whether you're willing to help her find a way to repair the veil without destroying herself." "Is there a way?" Vivian challenged. "There has to be." Cade's voice was absolute. "Because the alternative is unacceptable." He turned and walked back to Amelia, who sat staring into the fire, her face expressionless. Numb. Cade sat beside her and pulled her against him. "Talk to me," he murmured. "There's nothing to say." Amelia's voice was hollow. "I did what I had to do. Proved I'm serious. And now I feel like I'm missing a limb. It'll heal." "No, it won't." She turned to look at him. "Blood bonds don't heal once they're severed, Cade. They're just gone. And Saris, she can't even feel me anymore. Can't sense if I'm in pain or afraid or—" Her voice broke. "I chose her because I thought it would hurt least," Amelia whispered. "Because we weren't fully reconciled yet. Because I thought if I had to lose one of them, losing her would be the easiest. And I was wrong." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "It hurts just as much. Maybe more. Because now I'll never know if we could have been okay again. If I could have forgiven her. If we could have been sisters instead of strangers." Cade pulled her closer, and she buried her face against his chest. "I can't do this," she sobbed. "I can't sever all the bonds. I can't become untethered. I'll lose myself. I'll become something empty and hollow, and then we don't let that happen." Cade's voice was fierce. "We find the other 5 lost wolves. We get to the Moonwell. And we find a different way to repair the veil. One that doesn't cost you everything. What if there isn't one? Then we create one." He tilted her face up, forcing her to meet his eyes. "Because you're not doing this alone. You have me. You have your sisters, Amaya and Eloan, still have their bonds with you. You have Sable. You have this entire group of people who would rather die than watch you be destroyed. It's not enough. It's everything." Cade's voice dropped. "And I will burn this world to ash before I let it take you from me. Do you understand? The veil, the Shadow King, destiny itself, none of it matters more than keeping you whole." "That's selfish," Amelia whispered. "I don't care." Cade's eyes blazed. "I love you more than I love the world. And I'm not apologizing for it." The confession hung between them. Raw, honest, devastating. Because it was the truth. And the truth was that if it came down to saving Amelia or saving the world, Cade would choose her. Every time. Without hesitation. And Amelia realized with bone-deep certainty that she would do the same for him. Which meant they were both doomed. Because the world needed saving. And they were the only ones who could do it. But not if it meant losing each other. So they'd have to find a third option. An impossible solution to an impossible problem. Together. Or die trying. They found her by accident. Or maybe she found them. 2 days after Vivian joined their group, they were traveling through a forest that felt wrong, too quiet, too still, like the entire ecosystem was holding its breath. No birdsong. No rustling in the underbrush. Just oppressive silence that made Amelia's skin crawl. "Something's watching us," Sable murmured, her dreamwalker senses picking up presences the others couldn't perceive. "Hostile?" Cade asked, already moving into a protective position near Amelia. "I don't think so." Sable's brow furrowed. "It feels more like curiosity? Maybe fear?" They pushed forward cautiously, and the forest opened into a clearing. At the center stood a woman. Not wolf. Not exactly. She was caught mid-shift, her body suspended in that impossible space between human and animal, fur and skin existing simultaneously. Her face was half human, half wolf, frozen in an expression of desperate concentration. She'd been stuck like this for years. Amelia could see it in the way the vegetation had grown around her feet, the way moss covered parts of her lower legs, the way her eyes, one human brown, one wolf amber, held the kind of exhaustion that came from fighting a battle you could never win. Help. The word came out distorted, barely intelligible. Please. Amelia's heart clenched. This was the third lost wolf. And her gift, whatever it was, had trapped her between forms. What's your name? Amelia asked gently, approaching slowly. Linnea. The woman's human eye focused on her. Stuck. Can't finish. Can't go back. How long? Astrid asked, her healer instincts already assessing. 7 years. Linnea's voice cracked. Tried to shift. Something broke. Been here, waiting, hoping. 7 years. Stuck between forms. Unable to move, unable to complete the transformation, unable to die. It was a nightmare made flesh. I can help you, Amelia said, already feeling the moonfire rising to the surface. But I need you to trust me. Anything. Linnea's desperation was palpable. Please. Can't anymore. Amelia placed her hands on Linnea's half-shifted shoulders and let the moonfire flow. The reaction was immediate. The power that had trapped Linnea between forms resisted, not darkness, but something else. Something that felt like potential. Like magic that had gotten stuck halfway through manifesting. Amelia pushed deeper, and suddenly she understood. Linnea's gift wasn't speed or dreamwalking or healing. It was transformation. The ability to shift into forms beyond wolf and human. To become other things. Other creatures. To adapt and change and evolve. But something had gone wrong during a shift 7 years ago. The magic had stuttered. Frozen. Left her trapped in the space between what she was and what she was trying to become. I see you, Amelia whispered and poured moonfire into the stuck places. The transformation magic seized on the moonfire like a drowning person grabbing a lifeline. And suddenly, Linnea was moving again. Shifting. Changing. Her body flowed through the stuck transformation and finally resolved into fully human form. She collapsed and Amelia caught her. For a long moment, Linnea just sobbed. Relief. Gratitude. The overwhelming sensation of being free after 7 years of imprisonment. Thank you, she gasped. Thank you. You're safe now. Amelia held her, feeling the transformation magic settle into proximity with her moonfire. You're free. And you're not alone. Linnea pulled back, her fully human eyes, both brown now, searching Amelia's face. You're the bearer. It wasn't a question. I felt you awaken. Felt the call. But I couldn't answer. Couldn't move. I thought I'd die here before anyone found me. We found you. Amelia helped her stand. And we're going to make sure you're never trapped like that again. Linnea's legs were weak from 7 years of disuse, but Astrid was already there, supporting her, checking her over with practiced efficiency. She's malnourished, Astrid reported. Dehydrated, but alive. She'll need time to recover. We have time, Amelia said, even though she wasn't sure that was true. But looking at Linnea, at this woman who'd spent 7 years trapped and suffering, Amelia knew they'd make time. Because that's what you did for family. And these lost wolves were becoming family. Broken, scattered, damaged, but hers. They made camp early that night, giving Linnea time to rest and recover. The group dynamics had shifted. Where before there had been wariness and suspicion, now there was something that felt almost like unity. Sable and Vivian sat together, talking quietly. Astrid fussed over Linnea, making sure she ate and drank. Stellan and Riker kept watch, their presence a silent reassurance. Amelia's sisters sat apart from the main group, but not as far as before. Amaya and Aloan stayed close to Saris, who still looked hollowed out without her bond to Amelia. The sight made Amelia's chest ache. She'd done that. Made that choice. And she still didn't know if it was the right one. Cade found her sitting by the stream that ran near their camp, staring at the water but not really seeing it. "You're brooding," he said, settling beside her. "I'm thinking." "Same thing." He nudged her shoulder gently. "Talk to me." Amelia was quiet for a moment, organizing her thoughts. "I keep wondering if I'm doing the right thing," she said finally. "Gathering these wolves. Heading toward a ritual that might require me to sever every bond one have. Asking people to sacrifice for a world that threw them away." "You're giving them a choice," Cade pointed out. "That's more than anyone else has done." "Is it?" Amelia's voice turned sharp. "Because it doesn't feel like a choice. It feels like I'm manipulating them, using their desperation and loneliness to get what I need. You freed Sable from bindings that were killing her. You gave Vivian a purpose beyond rage. You saved Linnea from 7 years of torture." Cade's hand found hers. "That's not manipulation. That's compassion." Compassion with an agenda. All compassion has an agenda. Cade's thumb traced circles on the back of her hand. To ease suffering. To create connection. To remind people they're worth saving. Your agenda is just bigger than most. Amelia leaned her head on his shoulder, exhausted. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Of what's coming. Of what I might have to do. Of losing myself in the process." "I know." Cade's arm wrapped around her waist. "I'm scared too." The confession surprised her. "You're scared." "Terrified." His voice was rough. "I spent 10 years dying slowly from a curse, knowing I might never find my mate. Knowing I might die alone. And then I found you. And for the first time in a decade, I had hope. Had a future worth living for." He pulled back to look at her, and the vulnerability in his golden eyes made her chest ache. "Now I have to watch you walk toward a destiny that might take you from me anyway," he continued. "Might turn you into something untethered and unreachable. And I can't stop it. Can't fight it. All I can do is stand beside you and pray it's enough." "Cade, I'm not done." His hands framed her face. "You asked me once why I care. Why I'd risk everything for a mate I barely know. And the truth is, I feel like I've always known you. Like the bond recognized you before we even met. Like every year I spent searching was just my soul trying to find its way home." Amelia's breath caught. "You're not just my mate," Cade said quietly. "You're my choice. Even without the bond, even without the curse, even without destiny pushing us together, I would choose you. Every time. In every life." Tears burned behind Amelia's eyes. "How can you be so sure?" Her voice shook. "We've only known each other a few weeks. How do you know this isn't just the bond talking?" "Because I feel it here." Cade placed her hand over his heart. "Not in the bond. In me. The part of me that existed before the curse. Before the crown. Before any of it. That part of me knows you. Recognizes you. And it's not letting go." Amelia felt something crack open inside her. All her life, she'd been told she was too much. Too dangerous. Too broken. But Cade looked at her like she was everything. "I don't know if I can do this," she whispered. "Save the world. Repair the veil. Survive what's coming. Then don't do it for the world." Cade's voice dropped. "Do it for us. For the future we could have. For the life we could build together when this is over." "What if there is no when this is over?" Amelia asked. "What if the ritual requires me to sever all bonds, including ours? What if saving the world means losing you? Then we find another way." Cade's voice turned hard. "Because I refuse to accept a future without you in it. I don't care what the prophecies say. I don't care what the ancient wolves claim is necessary. We'll find a way to repair the veil and keep the bond intact." "You can't promise that." "Watch me." His eyes blazed with determination. "I didn't survive 10 years of a death curse just to lose you to destiny. I'll fight the moon goddess herself if I have to. I'll tear down the veil with my bare hands and rebuild it differently. I'll do whatever it takes to keep you." The fierce protectiveness in his voice should have scared her. Should have felt like too much, too fast. But instead, it made her feel safe. Cherished. Worth fighting for. I love you, Amelia said, the words spilling out before she could stop them. I know it's too soon. I know we barely know each other. But I love you. And I'm terrified of losing you. You won't. Cade pulled her close, his forehead pressing against hers. Because I'm not going anywhere. Not without you. He kissed her. Slow. Deep. Full of promises and desperation and the kind of love that rewrote destinies. And Amelia kissed him back, pouring everything she couldn't say into the connection between them. The bond sang, golden and bright, stronger than it had ever been. And for just this moment, Amelia let herself believe. Believe that love could conquer destiny. That they could save the world and each other. That there was a future waiting where they got to be happy. Together. Always. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Cade rested his forehead against hers. Promise me something, he said quietly. Anything. Promise me you won't give up. His voice was rough with emotion. No matter how hard it gets. No matter what the Shadow King offers. No matter what the ritual demands. Promise me you'll keep fighting. For us. For the future we deserve. I promise. Amelia's hand covered his heart. As long as you promise the same. Deal. They sat together in the quiet, the stream babbling beside them, the stars emerging overhead. And for the first time since learning about the Veil and the Shadow King and the impossible choice ahead, Amelia felt something other than fear. She felt loved. Completely. Absolutely. Without condition or hesitation. And that was worth fighting for. Worth dying for. Worth living for. They returned to camp hand in hand, and Amelia immediately noticed something was wrong. The atmosphere had shifted. Everyone was gathered around the fire, their faces tense, their bodies coiled like they were preparing for attack. And standing in the center of the group, looking small and terrified, was Linnea. What's going on? Amelia asked. Sable stood, her expression grim. Linnea had a dream. And I walked through it. Dreamwalking. Sable's gift. What did you see? Cade demanded. The Shadow King. Sable's voice was tight. He's been watching us. Tracking our progress. And he's not waiting until we reach the Moo Well. Amelia's stomach dropped. What do you mean? He's coming. Linnea's voice shook. In the dream, he showed me. Showed me what he's planning. He's going to attack us. Take the Lost Wolves. Use our power to tear down the veil before we can repair it. When? Cade's voice was sharp. Soon. Sable's eyes met Amelia's, maybe days. Maybe hours. He's close. I can feel him pressing against the veil. Hungry. Desperate. Then we move faster, Amaya said immediately. Find the other 4 lost wolves before he can interfere. It's not that simple. Vivian stood, her speed magic crackling around her like barely controlled lightning. I've been thinking about what Linnea said. About the Shadow King attacking before the Moo Well. And I realized something. What? Amelia asked. He doesn't want to stop us from repairing the veil. Vivian's expression was troubled. He wants to corrupt the repair. Use our combined power to tear down the veil and rebuild it wrong. Create a doorway between worlds that he controls. Horror flooded through Amelia. That's why he corrupted one of the lost wolves, she breathed. Not to kill me. To infiltrate the group. To be there when we attempt the ritual and sabotage it from the inside. Exactly. Vivian's eyes were hard. And whoever she is, she's good at hiding. Because I've been watching everyone since Sable told us and I can't identify her. Amelia's mind raced. They had 3 lost wolves now. Sable, who'd warned them about the corruption. Vivian, who'd forced Amelia to sever a bond but had kept her word about joining them. And Linnea, who'd been trapped for 7 years and seemed genuinely grateful for rescue. Which one was corrupted? Or was it one of the 4 they hadn't found yet? We can't turn on each other, Amelia said firmly. That's exactly what the Shadow King wants. He wants us fractured. Suspicious. Too afraid to trust. But if we don't identify the corrupted wolf, Stellan started. Then we watch each other carefully, Cade interrupted. We stay alert. And we trust our instincts. Your instincts or the bearers? Vivian challenged. Both. Cade's voice was hard. Because we're in this together. All of us. The group fell silent, tension thick enough to choke on. And watching from the shadows just beyond the firelight, something stirred. A presence that had been there all along. Waiting. Planning. Hungering. The corrupted wolf was closer than any of them realized. And she was ready to make her move. They found the next two wolves together. A deliberate pairing according to Neris's maps. Twin sisters who'd been exiled from the same pack on the same night 15 years ago. Their names were Oriel and Nara, and their gifts were intertwined. Oriel could see the future in fragments, glimpses of what might be. Nara could see the past, the echoes of what had been. Together, they were sight. The ability to perceive beyond the present moment. They lived in a ruined temple deep in the eastern mountains, and when Amelia's group arrived, the twins were waiting. They were identical, pale skin, white blonde hair, eyes that shifted between blue and silver depending on the light. But where Oriel's expression was open, curious, Nara's was guarded, suspicious. "We saw you coming," Oriel said, her voice soft. "Weeks ago. In the visions. And we've been arguing ever since about whether to run or wait," Nara added, her tone sharp. "You decided to wait," Amelia observed. "We decided to see what happens." Nara's eyes narrowed. "Because the visions show two paths. One where we go with you and help repair the veil. And one where we go with you and everyone dies." The blunt statement made everyone tense. "Which path are we on?" Cade asked carefully. "We don't know yet." Oriel's expression was troubled. "The future isn't fixed. It shifts with every choice. Right now, both paths are equally possible." "What tips the balance?" Amelia asked. The twins exchanged glances. Then Nara said, "Trust. Or the lack of it. One of you is already corrupted," Oriel continued gently. "Already touched by the Shadow King. And when she reveals herself, the group will fracture. The question is whether you can come back together in time to repair the veil, or whether the fracture destroys you." "Who is it?" Amaya demanded. "Which one is corrupted?" "We can't tell you." Nara's voice was firm. "Because knowing would change the future. Would cause you to act differently. And that might push you down the path where everyone dies." "That's insane," Vivian snarled. "You're asking us to walk blind into a trap." "We're asking you to trust," Oriel corrected. "Trust yourselves. Trust each other. Trust that when the moment comes, you'll make the right choice." "And if we don't?" Saris asked quietly. The twins were silent. Which was answer enough. "We'll go with you," Oriel said finally. "Because the path where we refuse is the one where the world ends immediately. At least this way, there's a chance." "How comforting," Riker muttered. But Amelia stepped forward and extended her hand. "Then come," she said, "and help us find that chance." The twins took her hand together, and their sight magic settled into proximity with her moonfire. 5 of 7. 2 more to find. And one of them, or one already found, was a traitor waiting to strike. It happened that night. They'd made camp in the ruins of the temple, using the ancient stone walls as shelter. Everyone was exhausted, emotionally wrung out from the constant tension and the knowledge that they were being hunted. Amelia was on watch with Cade when she felt it. A pulse in her moonfire. Not her power. Someone else's. Using moonfire in a way that felt wrong. Twisted. "Cade." But she didn't get to finish the warning. Because suddenly, silver light was everywhere. Not from her. From one of the lost wolves. The light wrapped around the camp like chains, binding everyone in place, and Amelia felt her power seized. Controlled. Redirected against her will. What she struggled, but the bonds were made of her own moonfire, turned against her. A figure stepped out of the shadows. Linnea. But not the broken, grateful woman they'd rescued from her trapped shift. This Linnea's eyes glowed black. Her transformation magic crackling around her like dark lightning. And her voice, when she spoke, was layered with something else. Something ancient and hungry. "Thank you, bearer." The Shadow King's voice poured from Linnea's throat. For gathering my tools so conveniently. Horror crashed through Amelia. You've been controlling her since we found her, she breathed. Since long before that. The Shadow King's smile was terrible. Did you really think it was coincidence that her transformation magic trapped her in a place you'd pass? That her suffering made you sympathetic? That her gratitude made you trust her? You planned this. Cade's voice was raw with fury. For years. The Shadow King's eyes, Linnea's eyes, but wrong fixed on Amelia. Waiting for the bearer to awaken. Waiting for her bleeding heart to make her predictable. And you performed exactly as expected. Let them go, Amelia demanded. This is between you and me. Oh, it's so much more than that. The Shadow King gestured, and the moonfire chains tightened, making everyone cry out in pain. You think repairing the veil is about power? About gathering the seven and performing a ritual? It's about sacrifice, little bearer. And you're about to learn what real sacrifice costs. The shadows around Linnea deepened, spreading, and suddenly the temperature dropped. The veil was thinning. Right here. Right now. The Shadow King was tearing it open early. You can't, Amelia gasped. If you tear it down now, without the ritual, the darkness will consume everything. Including me. The Shadow King's smile widened. I know. But after 1,000 years of being separated from her, oblivion is preferable to eternity alone. You're insane, Sable snarled, struggling against the bonds. I'm grief-stricken. The Shadow King's voice turned soft, almost gentle. And if you'd lost the one person who made existence bearable, you'd understand. His eyes, black and endless, fixed on Cade. You understand, don't you, Alpha King? You know what it's like to face eternity without your mate. To feel the curse eating away at you while you search desperately for the one person who can save you. Cade's jaw tightened, but he didn't respond. Now imagine you found her, the Shadow King continued. Bonded with her. Loved her. Built a future together. And then she was ripped away. Sacrificed herself for a cause you didn't choose. Left you with nothing but memories and an eternity of loneliness. That's not what happened, Amelia said. The first bearer chose to sacrifice herself. She wasn't taken from you. She chose the world over. Over me. The Shadow King's voice turned cold. Yes, she chose duty over love. Responsibility over happiness. And I've spent 1,000 years trying to accept it. Trying to move on. Trying to let her go. The darkness pulsed and cracks began to appear in the air itself. The veil tearing. But I can't, the Shadow King whispered. I've tried. I've waited. I've hoped she'd come back. That the veil would release her. That I'd see her again. But she's trapped. Merged with the moonfire. Unable to die. Unable to live. Just existing. Alone. In pain. So you're going to destroy the world to free her, Amelia said. I'm going to destroy the veil. The Shadow King's expression was almost pleading. And yes, the darkness will come through. Yes, it will consume the living world. But for one moment, just one moment, before oblivion takes us all, I'll be able to touch her again. Hold her. Tell her I never stopped loving her. That's not love, Eloan said, tears streaming down her face. That's obsession. It's both. The Shadow King didn't deny it. And I don't care anymore. I'm tired, little wolves. Tired of fighting. Tired of waiting. Tired of existing in a world where she's gone. He turned back to Amelia. But you're going to help me, he said. Whether you want to or not. The moonfire chains constricted, and Amelia screamed as her power was forcibly drained. Not destroyed. Redirected. Poured into the cracks in the veil, widening them, tearing the barrier between worlds. Stop. Cade roared, struggling against his bonds. You're killing her. I'm using her. The Shadow King's voice was matter-of-fact. The bearer's moonfire is the only thing powerful enough to tear down what the first bearer built. And once the veil falls, once I can reach her, you'll both die, Astrid gasped. The darkness doesn't discriminate. It will consume everything. Including you. Including her. I know. The Shadow King's smile was sad. But at least we'll die together. Amelia felt her power being ripped from her in waves, each pulse weakening her, each tear in the veil making the darkness press closer. She could feel it now. On the other side. Hungry. Ancient. Waiting. And underneath it all, she felt her. The first bearer. Merged with the veil. Conscious but trapped. Aware but unable to act. And she was screaming. Not in pain. In warning. Don't let him do this. Don't let him destroy what I built. Please. Please. The first bearer's voice echoed through the moonfire, desperate and terrified. And Amelia understood. The Shadow King thought freeing the first bearer would reunite them. But he was wrong. Because the first bearer didn't want to be freed. She'd chosen to merge with the veil. Chosen to sacrifice herself. And she'd been holding the barrier together for 1,000 years, not out of obligation. Out of love. Love for the world she'd saved. Love for the wolves who lived because of her sacrifice. Love for the future she'd never see but had made possible. Tearing down the veil wouldn't reunite them. It would destroy everything she died to protect. And that would break her more completely than any separation ever could. Stop. Amelia's voice rang out, amplified by moonfire she didn't know she still had access to. You're not saving her. You're destroying everything she loved. The Shadow King paused, and for just a moment, Linnea's black eyes flickered. She chose the world over you, Amelia continued, gasping through the pain. Not because she didn't love you, but because she loved both. And she knew that you were strong enough to survive without her. Strong enough to grieve and heal and find purpose beyond your bond. I'm not strong enough. The Shadow King whispered, and for the first time, he sounded broken. I've tried. For 1,000 years, I've tried. But every day without her is agony. Every moment I exist knowing she's trapped is torture. Then let her go. Amelia's voice gentled. Really let her go. Not by destroying the veil, but by honoring what she sacrificed for. By protecting it. By living the life she died to make possible. I don't know how, the Shadow King said, and he sounded lost. I don't know how to exist without her. You learn. Cade's voice was rough. You take it one day at a time. You find purpose beyond your pain. You choose to live instead of just surviving. The Shadow King looked at him, and something in his expression shifted. You'd do the same, he said quietly. If you lost the bearer, you'd tear down the world to reach her. Maybe. Cade's eyes met Amelia's, but I'd also honor her choices. And if she chose to sacrifice herself for something she believed in, I'd make damn sure her sacrifice meant something. I wouldn't destroy what she died to protect. Silence fell. The darkness pressed closer. The veil tore wider. And Amelia felt the moment balance on a knife's edge. The Shadow King could choose grief. Or he could choose love. Obsession. Or letting go. For a long, terrible moment, nothing happened. Then, the Shadow King released his hold on Amelia's moonfire. The chains dissolved, and Linnea collapsed, the corruption bleeding out of her like poison. I can't, the Shadow King whispered, and his voice was raw. I can't keep doing this. I can't keep destroying the world because I'm in pain. The darkness around them began to recede. The tears in the veil started to close. But I don't know how to let her go, the Shadow King continued, and he sounded so lost, so broken, that Amelia's heart ached for him despite everything. She struggled to her feet, swaying, and approached where the shadow presence lingered. Then let me help you, she said quietly. Let me show you what she wants. What she's been trying to tell you for 1,000 years. How? Amelia placed her hand against the veil, feeling the first bearer's presence on the other side. And she opened the connection. Let the first bearer speak through her. Let the 1,000-year-old grief and love and desperate hope pour through. My love. The first bearer's voice, speaking through Amelia, made the Shadow King go absolutely still. I've been trying to reach you for so long. Trying to make you understand. I didn't leave you because I stopped loving you. I left because I loved you too much to watch the world we built together be destroyed. Then come back, the Shadow King whispered. Please, just come back. I can't. I'm part of the veil now. Part of the barrier. And if you tear it down, you won't free me. You'll just kill everything I died to save. And that would destroy me more completely than any separation. I don't care about the world without you. But I do. The first bearer's voice was firm. I care about the wolves who live because of my choice. I care about the future I'll never see. I care about the children who'll be born into peace instead of darkness. And I need you to care about them too. How? The Shadow King's voice broke. How do I care about anything when you're gone? You start by grieving properly. By accepting that I made my choice and it wasn't a rejection of you. It was an affirmation of everything we believed in together. The veil pulsed with silver light. And then you help her. The first bearer's presence turned toward Amelia, the new bearer. She's trying to repair what's breaking. Trying to do what I did without losing herself. And she needs guidance. She needs someone who understands the weight. Someone who's walked this path before. You want me to help her? The Shadow King sounded incredulous. I want you to heal. And healing starts with purpose. With choosing to protect instead of destroy. With honoring my sacrifice by making sure the next bearer doesn't have to make the same one. Silence. Then the Shadow King said, if I help her, if I choose this, will I ever see you again? When the veil is repaired properly. When the balance is restored. When both our purposes are fulfilled. The first bearer's voice turned gentle. Then maybe, just maybe, the moon goddess will release me. Let me rest. And we'll find each other again in whatever comes after. That's not a promise. It's hope. And right now, that's all I can give you. The Shadow King was quiet for so long Amelia thought he might refuse. Then slowly, the darkness began to recede completely. The tears in the veil sealed. And Linnea's eyes returned to normal, human brown, exhausted but free. I'll help you, the Shadow King said, his voice directed at Amelia. Not because I believe in your cause, but because she asked me to. And I can't deny her anything. Even after 1,000 years, Amelia said softly. Especially after 1,000 years. The presence faded and Amelia collapsed. Cade caught her, pulling her against him, and she felt his relief flood through the bond. Is it over? Eloan whispered. No. Oriel's voice was quiet. But the path shifted. We're on the one where there's a chance now. Where survival is possible. What changed? Saris asked. Trust. Nara looked at Amelia. She trusted the Shadow King could be reached. Could be healed. And she was right. Linnea sat up slowly, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry, she gasped. I didn't. He got inside my head when I was trapped. Promised to free me if I let him use me. I didn't know, I didn't realize. It's okay. Amelia reached for her. You're free now. Really free. And we're going to make sure he can't corrupt anyone else. How? Vivian asked. He's still out there. Still grieving. Still dangerous. But he's on our side now, Amelia said. Or at least, he's not actively trying to destroy us. And that's progress. She looked around at her group, battered, exhausted, but alive. 5 lost wolves. 2 more to find. And a Shadow King who'd agreed to help instead of hinder. It wasn't victory. But it was hope. And right now, that was enough. They found the 6th lost wolf by following a trail of ice. Literal ice, in the middle of summer, in a forest that should have been warm and green. Instead, frost coated every surface and the air tasted like winter. Her name was Syra, and she sat in the center of a frozen clearing, her body encased in ice she'd created and couldn't dispel. Cryomancy. Ice magic. The ability to freeze anything, including herself. She'd been isolated for 9 years, her power spiraling out of control every time she felt strong emotion. Fear froze everything around her. Anger created blizzards. Grief turned the world to ice. So she'd learned to feel nothing. And that numbness had frozen her from the inside out. I can't come with you, she said when Amelia approached, her voice as cold as the ice surrounding her. I'll hurt someone. I always do. Not if you learn control, Amelia said gently. Not if you have people who understand what you're carrying. No one understands. Syra's eyes, pale blue, almost white, were empty. I killed my entire family. Froze them solid during a nightmare when I was 14. Woke up to find them dead. All of them. Because I couldn't control my power. The grief in her voice was devastating. Amelia knelt in front of her, ignoring the cold biting into her skin. I understand, she said quietly. When I was 7, I killed 3 pack wolves by accident. My power activated and they were just gone. Turned to ash. And I spent 16 years believing I was a monster because of it. Syra's eyes finally showed emotion. How did you stop believing? Someone saw past the monster to the person underneath. Amelia glanced back at Cade. And he taught me that power isn't good or evil. It's just power. What matters is the choice we make about how to use it. I choose not to use it at all. Syra's voice was firm. It's safer that way. Safer for who? Sable asked, stepping forward. For the world? Or for you? Both. That's fear talking, Vivian said bluntly. I know because I lived in fear for 12 years. Fear of being found. Fear of being used. Fear of caring about anything. And you know what fear does? It makes you smaller. Weaker. It turns you into the very thing you're afraid of becoming. So what do I do? Syra's voice cracked. How do I stop being afraid when my fear kills people? You don't fight it alone. Amelia extended her hand, letting moonfire glow softly on her palm. You let people help carry the weight. And you trust that you're stronger than you think. Syra stared at the offered hand for a long moment. Then, slowly, she reached out. The moment their hands touched, Amelia's moonfire pulsed, and the ice around Syra began to melt. Not destroyed, transformed. Turned from prison into potential. Syra gasped as warmth flooded back into her body for the first time in 9 years. You're free, Amelia said. And you're not a monster. You're just someone who needs to learn that emotions don't have to be dangerous. They can be powerful. Syra's eyes filled with tears, the first she'd allowed herself to cry in years. And the ice magic settled into proximity with Amelia's moonfire, cool and steady. 6 of 7. One more to find. The last lost wolf found them. 2 days from the Moonwell, as they traveled through territory that felt increasingly sacred, increasingly old, a woman stepped out of the forest and into their path. She was stunning, dark skin, silver eyes that seemed to see through everything, an aura of power so profound it made the air shimmer. Bearer. Her voice was like music and thunder combined. I've been waiting. Who are you? Amelia asked, though part of her already knew. Reyna, the last lost wolf, and the one who's been the hardest to find because I never wanted to be found. Why not? Cade asked, moving protectively close to Amelia. Because my gift is truth. Reyna's silver eyes held Amelia's, not just the ability to speak it, the ability to see it, to know when someone's lying, to perceive the reality behind every mask. And that gift made me dangerous to every alpha who wanted to keep secrets. So they exiled me. How long? Astrid asked quietly. 20 years. Reyna's expression was unreadable. I've been alone longer than most of you have been alive. And in that time, I've learned things. Seen things. Understood truths most wolves would rather ignore. Like what? Saris asked. Reyna turned to her, and something in her gaze made Saris flinch. Like the fact that you're drowning in guilt. Reyna's voice was gentle but relentless. You sold your sister to save her. Made the hardest choice of your life. And now that bond is severed, and you can't feel if she's forgiven you or not. Can't sense if she still loves you. And it's destroying you from the inside out. Saris's breath caught, tears spilling down her cheeks. Reyna moved to Vivian. You forced the bearer to sever that bond to prove a point. To make her suffer the way you've suffered. But now you regret it. Now you see that causing pain doesn't heal your own. It just creates more wounds. Vivian's jaw tightened, but she didn't deny it. Reyna continued around the group, speaking truths that cut like surgical strikes. To Linnea, you're terrified the Shadow King will corrupt you again. That you'll betray them when they need you most. To Syra, you're waiting for permission to feel. Waiting for someone to tell you it's safe. But safety is a lie. Emotions are messy and dangerous and necessary. To Sable, you're in love with the idea of belonging, but terrified of the reality. Because belonging means being seen. And being seen means being vulnerable. To the twins, you see every possible future, but you're paralyzed by the weight of knowing how easily everything could go wrong. And finally, to Amelia. Raina stood in front of her, and those silver eyes saw everything. You're carrying the weight of the world, Raina said quietly. And you're terrified you're not strong enough. That you'll have to choose between love and duty. That saving the world means destroying yourself. Yes, Amelia whispered. But you're wrong. Raina's voice turned firm. The choice isn't love or duty. It's love through duty. Duty powered by love. They're not opposites. They're the same thing viewed from different angles. I don't understand. You will. Raina extended her hand. When we reach the moonwell. When the ritual begins. When you have to choose how to repair the veil. You'll understand that the strongest power isn't sacrifice. It's connection. And you don't have to sever your bonds to save the world. You have to strengthen them. Hope flared in Amelia's chest. Is that the truth? She asked. It's a truth. Raina's smile was small. One of many. But it's the one you need to hear right now. Amelia took her hand, and truth magic settled into proximity with her moonfire. 7 of 7. All the lost wolves gathered. And the moonwell was only a day's journey away. They reached it at dawn. The moonwell sat in a valley so remote, so hidden, that even the maps barely acknowledged its existence. Ancient trees surrounded it, their branches forming a natural cathedral. And at the center, water. But not normal water. Liquid moonlight. The pool glowed silver white, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. And around its edges, carved into stone that looked older than time itself, were symbols in the old language. Here the first bearer made her choice. Here the veil was born. Here sacrifice became salvation. Amelia felt her moonfire respond to the well, called to it like a moth to flame. It's beautiful, Eloan breathed. It's powerful, Astrid corrected, her senses picking up the concentrated magic radiating from the pool. And standing beside the well, as if she'd been waiting for them, was a figure made of pure moonlight. Not solid. Not quite ghost. Something in between. The spirit of the first bearer. You came. Her voice was like wind through silver bells. All of you. The 7 lost wolves and the new bearer. We came to repair the veil, Amelia said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. I know. The first bearer's luminous eyes, so like Amelia's when her power flared, held understanding and sorrow. And I know what you've been told. That repairing the veil requires severing all bonds. The Alpha King, the first bearer, confirmed. The bond between you exists for exactly this purpose. He is your anchor. Your tether. Your reminder that you're a person, not just power. What do I do? Cade asked immediately. Stay connected, the first bearer said. No matter how much power flows through her. No matter how much it feels like she's slipping away. You hold the bond. You keep calling her back. You remind her who she is. And when the repair is complete, you pull her out. That's it. Stellan sounded incredulous. Just hold on. Holding on is everything, the Shadow King's voice echoed from the shadows. It's what I failed to do. What I gave up on when she cut our bond. If I'd fought harder, held tighter, refused to let her go, she might have survived, the first bearer finished quietly. We might have found a way to repair the veil together. But we'll never know. Because I chose to face it alone. She looked at Amelia. Don't choose alone, she said. Choose together. Choose love and duty. Choose to trust that the bond is strong enough to survive even this. Amelia's hand found Cade's, and the bond between them blazed golden and warm. Together, she said. Always, Cade agreed. They prepared as the sun reached its zenith. The 7 lost wolves positioned themselves around the moonwell, each one representing a point on an ancient symbol carved into the ground. Sable at north for dreams. Vivian at northeast for speed. Linnea at east for transformation. The twins Oriel and Nara at southeast and south for sight. Syra at southwest for ice, and Reyna at west for truth. Amelia stood at the center, facing the well. Cade stood behind her, his hands on her shoulders, the bond between them open and blazing. And the first bearer's spirit hovered above the water, her form flickering but present. "When you're ready," she said gently. Amelia took a deep breath and stepped into the moon well. The water was warm. Not hot, but alive with power that made her skin tingle and her moonfire surge in response. She walked deeper until the liquid moonlight reached her waist, her chest, her shoulders. And then she submerged. The moment Amelia went under, the world exploded. Power beyond anything she'd ever imagined flooded through her. The combined magic of the 7 lost wolves amplified by the Moonwell's concentrated moonfire and her own bearer power. It was too much. Too vast. Too overwhelming. She felt herself starting to dissolve. To become just power without person. Without memory. Without Amelia. Cade's voice through the bond. Steady. Strong. Real. "I'm here. I've got you. Don't let go." Amelia clung to the sound of his voice like a lifeline. Clung to the bond between them. Clung to the memories of who she was, who they were together. And the power listened. Instead of consuming her, it flowed through her. She became a conduit. A channel. A bridge between the living world and the veil. And she could see it now, the barrier between worlds, tattered and torn, barely holding back the tide of darkness on the other side. She reached for it with moonfire and wove. Thread by thread. Layer by layer. Pulling the tears closed. Reinforcing what had weakened. Rebuilding what had broken. The 7 lost wolves fed her power, their magic intertwining with hers, creating something stronger than any of them could achieve alone. And through it all, Cade held the bond. Kept her tethered. Kept her human. The veil was almost repaired. Just one final push. One last surge of power to seal it permanently. But it would require everything Amelia had. Every drop of moonfire. Every ounce of strength. She'd survive, the first bearer had promised that. But she'd be changed. Diminished. Possibly empty. Unless. "Let me help." The Shadow King's voice, gentle and certain. His presence moved through the veil, and for the first time, Amelia truly saw him. Not as a monster made of grief, but as a wolf who'd loved so deeply that losing his mate had broken something fundamental. "I've spent 1,000 years trying to tear this down," the Shadow King said. "Let me spend the next 1,000 holding it up." "What are you saying?" Amelia asked. "I'm saying I'll take the first bearer's place." His voice was calm. Peaceful. "I'll merge with the veil. Become the anchor that holds it together." And his presence turned toward the first bearer's spirit. "She'll finally be free." "No," the first bearer gasped. "You can't. The veil requires bearer power." "You're not." "I'm the mate of a bearer," the Shadow King interrupted. "Our bond was never fully severed. Just strained. Stretched across 1,000 years of grief and distance. But it's still there. Still connecting us." He moved closer to Amelia. "If she'll let me," he said quietly, "I'll use that connection. Channel her bearer power through our old bond. Merge with the veil the way she did. And this time we'll both finally be at peace." "You'll die," Amelia said. "I'll transform," the Shadow King corrected. "Same as she did. But together this time. Both of us holding the veil. Both of us protecting what we love." After everything, Amelia's voice shook. "After trying to destroy the world, now you want to save it?" "I want to honor her choice," the Shadow King said simply. "She sacrificed herself to create this. The least I can do is help maintain it. And maybe if we're both part of the veil, we'll finally be able to reach each other. Finally stop being separated." The first bearer's spirit was weeping. "You'd do this." Her voice was barely a whisper. "After everything I put you through? I'd do anything for you," the Shadow King said. "Even live. Even let you go. Even spend eternity merged with moonfire if it means protecting what you loved. That's not letting go. It's choosing differently." The Shadow King's presence grew warmer. It's choosing to love you by honoring your sacrifice instead of destroying it. And that's all I should have done from the beginning." Silence fell. Then the first bearer said together, "Always, the Shadow King promised." And Amelia felt the moment they both made the choice. The Shadow King's presence merged with the veil, his grief-corrupted power transforming into something clean and strong. And the first bearer's spirit, finally released from holding the barrier alone, joined him. Together, they became the foundation of the veil. Two souls who'd loved and lost and finally found each other again in the act of protecting the world they'd both died for. And the veil sealed. Perfect. Permanent. Unbreakable. Amelia felt the moonfire recede, the power flowing back to its sources, and suddenly she was just herself again. Exhausted. Drained. But whole. And Cade was there, pulling her out of the moon well, wrapping her in his arms, holding her like she was the most precious thing in the world. "You did it," he gasped. "You actually did it." "We did it," Amelia corrected, her voice hoarse. "All of us." She looked around at the 7 lost wolves, all of them collapsed but alive. At her sisters, weeping with relief. At the pack members who'd traveled with them, their faces showing awe and exhaustion. And at the moonwell, where the water had returned to normal. No more liquid moonlight, just clear, pure water. And reflected in it, for just a moment, 2 figures holding hands. The first bearer and the Shadow King. Finally at peace. The first united gathering of the wolf nations happened on the autumn equinox, exactly 3 months after the veil was repaired. Amelia stood on a platform overlooking a valley filled with thousands of wolves from dozens of packs. Packs that had been isolated for generations. Packs that had viewed each other with suspicion and fear. All of them gathered under a single banner now. Unity through understanding. It was Raina's idea, the truth seer who joined Amelia's council and used her gift to mediate disputes and expose the lies that had kept packs divided. Beside Amelia stood Cade, his hand warm in hers, the mate bond between them stronger than ever. The curse was gone, completely eradicated when the veil was repaired. He'd never felt healthier, more alive, more whole. And on her other side stood the 7 lost wolves. Not lost anymore. Found. Each one had become integral to the new wolf nation they were building. Sable used her dream walking to help traumatized wolves heal, walking through their nightmares with them until the terror lost its power. Vivian had become the head of a new messenger corps, her speed magic allowing her to carry urgent communications across vast distances in hours instead of days. Linnea's transformation magic was being used to help wolves who'd been injured or damaged learn to adapt, to shift into forms that accommodated their new realities. The twins, Oriel and Nara, worked with the council, their sight magic helping leaders make informed decisions by showing both the consequences of past actions and the potential outcomes of future choices. Syra had opened a sanctuary for young wolves struggling with newly manifested powers, teaching them that emotions weren't dangerous, they were tools that could be mastered. And Raina sat on every major negotiation, her truth magic ensuring that lies and manipulation had no place in the new world they were building. "Are you ready?" Cade murmured. "No," Amelia admitted. "But I'm doing it anyway." She stepped forward, and the crowd fell silent. Thousands of eyes fixed on her. The bearer. The woman who'd saved the world. The queen who'd chosen love and duty both. 3 months ago, Amelia began, her voice amplified by magic so everyone could hear. "I was a girl who believed she was broken. Worthless. Too dangerous to deserve love or belonging. I'd been exiled by my family, sold to an enemy pack, and told my very existence was a threat." She paused, letting the words settle. "I was wrong," she continued. "Not about the danger, my power is dangerous. But about what that meant. Because danger isn't the same as evil. Power isn't the same as corruption. And being different doesn't mean being less." The crowd was utterly silent, hanging on every word. The 7 wolves standing with me, they were called lost. Exiled. Forgotten. Cast out by packs that feared what they represented. And for years, they survived alone, convinced they were better off isolated than risking connection. Amelia's gaze moved across the faces of the lost wolves, seeing pride and healing in each one. But isolation doesn't protect us, she said firmly. It weakens us. We are strongest when we stand together. When we accept that our differences aren't flaws, they're gifts. When we choose to build bridges instead of walls. She extended her hand, and moonfire bloomed in her palm, soft, warm, beautiful. This is bearer power, she said. Healing magic. The ability to mend what's broken and unite what's been scattered. And for 1,000 years, there wasn't a bearer because the wolf nations had forgotten how to be whole. Had forgotten that we're all one people. One blood. One purpose. The moonfire spread, flowing across the crowd in gentle waves that didn't burn, just warmed. Reminded. Connected. The veil is repaired, Amelia continued. The darkness is held back. But that's just the beginning. Because a world without darkness isn't automatically a world of light. We have to choose to build that. Choose to be better. Choose to honor what was sacrificed to give us this chance. She looked at Cade, and the love in his eyes made her chest ache. I was taught that sacrifice meant giving up everything, she said. That saving the world required destroying yourself. But I learned something different. I learned that the strongest sacrifices aren't about what you lose. They're about what you choose to protect. What you choose to fight for. What you choose to love despite the cost. The moonfire pulsed brighter. So I'm asking you, all of you, to make a choice, Amelia said. Choose connection over isolation. Choose compassion over fear. Choose to be the wolves our ancestors hoped we'd become. Choose to build a world where no one has to be lost. Where no one has to be exiled for being different. Where power is celebrated instead of feared. She lowered her hand, and the moonfire settled, becoming a gentle glow that illuminated every wolf in the valley. Choose hope, Amelia finished. And let's build something worth fighting for. Together. The silence held for one heartbeat. 2. Then, the valley erupted. Howls rising to the sky. Wolves shifting and raising their voices in a song older than language. The sound of thousands choosing unity. Choosing hope. Choosing her. Cade pulled Amelia against him, and she buried her face in his chest as happy tears spilled down her cheeks. You did it, he murmured. You actually united them. We did it, Amelia corrected. All of us. Later that night, after the ceremonies and celebrations had quieted, Amelia found Ceres sitting alone by a river, staring at the water. Her oldest sister. The one whose bond she'd severed 3 months ago. They'd been polite since then. Respectful. But there was distance. A canyon where connection used to be. And Amelia was tired of it. She sat down beside Ceres, and for a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Ceres said quietly, "You were magnificent today." "Thank you." Mother would have been proud. Ceres's voice cracked. "She sacrificed everything to give you a chance to become this. And you didn't waste it." "She sacrificed everything to give me a choice," Amelia corrected. "And I chose to honor what she died for." Silence fell again. Then Amelia said, "I want to try something. But only if you're willing." "What?" "The bond." Amelia turned to face her sister. "I severed it because I thought I had to. Thought it would prove I was serious about saving the world. But I was wrong. And I want to try to repair it." Ceres's breath caught. "Is that even possible?" "I don't know." Amelia held out her hand. "But I'm a bearer. Healing magic is literally what I carry. And I hope that what was broken can be mended. If we both choose it." Ceres stared at the offered hand, tears streaming down her face. "I don't deserve it," she whispered. "After what I did. After selling you. You were trying to save me." Amelia's voice was gentle but firm. "You made an impossible choice out of love. And yes, it hurt. Yes, I'm still processing it. But I understand now. Understand that sometimes love looks like letting go. And I'm ready to choose letting you back in." "Why?" Ceres asked, broken. "Why would you forgive me?" "Because you're my sister." Amelia's hand stayed extended. And because holding on to pain doesn't protect me, it just makes me smaller. So I'm choosing to let it go, choosing to heal, choosing to trust that we can be better together than we were broken. Saris took her hand, and Amelia let the moonfire flow. It was different this time, not tearing, not severing, but weaving. Finding the frayed edges of the bond that used to connect them and carefully, gently stitching them back together. It wasn't perfect. The bond that reformed was newer, more fragile than the original. But it was there. And through it, Amelia felt Saris's love, her guilt, her desperate relief. And Saris felt Amelia's forgiveness, her understanding, her choice to move forward instead of staying stuck in the past. Thank you, Saris sobbed, pulling Amelia into a fierce embrace. Thank you for giving me another chance. Thank you for loving me enough to let me go, Amelia whispered back. Even when it destroyed you. They held each other and cried, not from pain, but from release. From the bone-deep relief of being seen and choosing to see in return. From the knowledge that family wasn't just blood. It was choice. And they were choosing each other. Again. 6 months after the veil was repaired, Cade and Amelia stood in the same chamber where they'd first met. The throne room of Shadowmere. Except it wasn't just Shadowmere's throne room anymore. It was the seat of the United Wolf Council, representatives from every major pack, gathered to make decisions that affected all wolfkind. Cade no longer ruled alone. He shared power with Amelia, with the council, with leaders who'd been chosen by their packs instead of inheriting authority. It was messy, sometimes frustrating, but it was right. Ready? Cade asked, his hand warm in hers. For what? This. He pulled a small box from his pocket. Inside was a ring, simple silver, carved with symbols that represented both of them. Wolf and Moonfire. Alpha and Bearer. 2 halves of a whole. I know we're already mated, Cade said, his voice rough with emotion. The bond is permanent and unbreakable. But I want to give you a choice anyway. A human choice. Not dictated by destiny or prophecy or the moon goddess. He knelt, and Amelia's breath caught. Amelia Stonebrick, Cade said, his golden eyes shining. Will you marry me? Not because the bond demands it. Not because the world needs you. But because I love you. Because I choose you. Because I want to spend every day of forever reminding you that you're worth fighting for. Amelia's vision blurred with tears. Yes, she whispered. Yes, 1,000 times yes. Cade stood and slipped the ring onto her finger, and the moment the metal touched her skin, the bond between them blazed. Not because of magic. Because of choice. Because they'd chosen each other over and over again through impossible odds and devastating choices, and the weight of the world pressing down on them. And they'd keep choosing. Every day. Every moment. Forever. Cade kissed her, and the world fell away. There was just them. Just this. Just the future they'd fought so hard to claim. Amelia stood in the valley where the first united gathering had been held, watching as thousands of wolves celebrated the anniversary of the veil's repair. She wasn't alone. Cade stood beside her, his arm around her waist, his presence a constant source of warmth and strength. Her sisters were there, Saris, Amaya, and Aloan, their bonds repaired and stronger than ever. The 7 lost wolves moved through the crowd, each one teaching, helping, connecting. And everywhere Amelia looked, she saw hope. Saw packs that had been enemies working together. Saw young wolves with unusual powers being celebrated instead of exiled. Saw a world slowly healing from 1,000 years of fracture. It wasn't perfect. There were still disputes. Still wolves who clung to old fears and old ways. But progress was being made. And that was enough. Do you ever regret it? Cade asked quietly. Everything you gave up? Everything you went through? Amelia thought about it. Thought about the pain. The fear. The impossible choices. Thought about Saris's severed bond. The Shadow King's corruption. The terror of almost losing herself in the Moonwell. No, she said finally. Because all of it, every terrible moment, every devastating choice, led me here. To you. To this. to a world where lost wolves can come home. She looked up at him, and the love in his eyes still stole her breath. I'm not the broken girl my family sold anymore, Amelia continued. I'm not the monster I thought I was. I'm someone who chose to fight for a future worth living. And that's everything. Cade kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. You're everything, he corrected. And I'm never letting you forget it. The bond between them pulsed with warmth and certainty. And watching from somewhere beyond the veil, from whatever peaceful place the First Bearer and Shadow King had found together, two spirits smiled. Because the cycle had finally been broken. Love and duty weren't opposites anymore. Sacrifice didn't require destroying yourself. And the bearer, this bearer, their bearer, had proven that the strongest power wasn't what you gave up. It was what you held on to. What you fought for. What you chose to love despite everything trying to tear it away. The world was healing. The wolves were united. And Amelia Stonebrick, once broken, once lost, once convinced she was worthless, had become exactly what she was always meant to be. Not a weapon. Not a sacrifice. But a woman. Who loved deeply. Fought fiercely. And chose hope when the world offered despair. And that was the greatest magic of all. Would you have chosen her side? The girl who was sold and became a queen? The woman who was broken and became the one who healed the world? The bearer who proved that love isn't weakness, it's the strongest force in existence? Here's the truth they don't tell you. You don't have to be perfect to change the world. You don't have to be fearless to be brave. You don't have to sacrifice everything to matter. You just have to choose. Choose connection over isolation. Choose compassion over cruelty. Choose to fight for the future you deserve instead of accepting the one fear offers you. Amelia did that. Stood at the edge of impossible and said, I'm going anyway. Faced a destiny that demanded everything and said, I'm keeping what matters. Looked at a world telling her she had to choose between love and duty and said, I choose both. And she won. Not because she was the most powerful. Not because destiny guaranteed it. But because she chose to believe that broken things could be mended. That lost wolves could come home. That love was worth fighting for even when the cost was devastating. If this story touched something inside you, if you felt the betrayal, the hope, the desperate burning need to believe that you're stronger than you think, then stay with us. Subscribe to Cindy's Wolfheart Stories. Because here, we don't just tell tales about wolves and magic and impossible love. We tell tales about you. About the parts of yourself you've been told to hide. About the power you've been taught to fear. About the love you've been convinced you don't deserve. We tell stories that remind you. You are not broken. You are not too much. You are not a burden. You are a force. Waiting to be unleashed. Waiting to be seen. Waiting to rewrite the destiny everyone else chose for you. So come. Join the pack. Let us show you what happens when the lost wolves come home. When the broken girls become queens. When love becomes the thing that saves the world instead of the thing you sacrifice to save it. This is Cindy's Wolfheart Stories. Where every tale burns bright enough to light the darkness. Where every ending is really just a beginning. Where your story, the one you've been too afraid to tell, finally gets to be heard. Welcome home, Wolf. We've been waiting for you. Subscribe now. Because the best tales? They're the ones we live together.